You know what Kevin loves? Eating. You know what Kevin's doing? Getting married. I'm not saying the two are connected, but maybe if you use our sponsor, Blue Apron, to eat, someone will love you. Blue Apron. I wrote this ad again. Blue Apron makes cooking simple and delicious. Each week, they send you pre-portioned ingredients. You follow the step-by-step instructions. Blammo! You've got a dish to be proud of. No more eating out of the trash, YouTube user Matt Bell. They got warmed smoked trout and asparagus salad with fingerling potatoes, garlic croutons this month, man. Stop eating out of the trash. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Greggy. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Greggy. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And stop eating out of the trash, YouTube user Matt Bell. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I'm one of your hosts, alongside producer/seducer Nick Scarpino.
Hi.
You're wearing the brand new Kind of Funny hat.
Yeah, it was fun. I had to take some pictures in it, and I just kept it on.
It's not. We don't know if it's available yet by the time this is posting.
I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to wear it right now.
But what I'd like you to do is show me all the different styles. Kevin, give me R2. And now show me some of the styles of this hat. So this is like you're going to a baseball game. You're coaching Little League.
Picked up your kid from Little League.
Maybe gonna bribe him with some sort of sugar so they'll shut the hell up.
It's Sunday. You haven't showered yet. You're going out to brunch.
Didn't want to do my hair.
Now hip it up for me. Hip it up.
Hip it up? You want to hippity hop it up?
Show me how you get the ladies at the club.
Oh, doctor.
What if I do that?
You are a member of Crisscross at this point.
This right here says don't burn this side of my neck, and this one says I'm all party because I'm kind of happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
and then
what's the other? You're trying to shave the back of your neck.
This is I'm really intense and I'm into my card game because all I have left in life is gambling.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in
That is
Vegas.
true.
I
That is
gained a little
true.
bit of weight.
Yeah.
You know,
World
I owe a
Series
lot of money
poker.
to the wrong kind of people, and this I need. Oh shit! I just lost. Go run.
No, you kind of do you look like the Fred Durst, sort of in that era of the Nookie era.
Ah, yes, the
Yeah.
Nookie era. Of course, Limp Bizkit's Nookie.
Now just turn that hat red. Get a big puffy jacket on.
Now show me the rally cap.
Oh, rally cap time.
Yeah,
Do it this way, right? Is this how you rally cap?
you're doing it. You're doing
this
it.
is
I don't want to fuck up the top
The
of it,
podcasters
do
are
it for
having
2
a great
seconds.
time right now. The people listening to this audio
how you
version
like
only.
Andy
Like, what on
Cortez.
earth is going on?
What? Wait. What? You're kind of funny. Something Hispanic, but if I say it wrong, it's racist.
Hispanic heartthrob?
Hispanic heartthrob. Andy Cortez. Don't you think the Spurs could use that in the playoffs?
Okay.
Because remember they lost. That's your team, and they
baseball
lost.
caps for
Rally caps for
basketball teams?
baseball. Not
You can put on for.
basketball.
You can rally for anything. One time I was getting my chemotherapy. A guy did that with his hat. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna beat this thing."
Oh, okay.
Died right there.
Oh, fuck.
Damn.
It's not a real story.
Great show.
And rounding out the foursome today, Patreon supporter Paul Joyce.
Yay, Paul!
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Paul, you come all the way from jolly old England.
I do.
Oh, make you feel more at home, don't we see?
I can't believe you waited this long.
Don't
I know,
we
right?
see?
Oh no,
Yeah.
he was building
I
up.
felt
just
so.
talk.
I felt so at home there.
Yeah, exactly.
sorry.
Now, Paul, how long have we known you?
Too long?
No.
Yeah,
no.
a good year or two.
Yeah, you've been supporting us for a long time there. You do the Skype calls with us.
Indeed, I do.
We get to check in. We've seen you go from your apartment being very bland
Yes.
to then getting a better webcam, and it seemed there was more detail when that happened.
Yeah.
And then you went down to LA and you were Skyping from a back porch.
Yeah. So basically, I am actually enjoying 2 months of what we call in the UK gardening leave.
Okay.
So I'm between jobs. I started a new job in the middle of June. So my girlfriend and I came out to the US for 2 months to sun ourselves. So we spent most of our time in California.
Yeah.
But we did spend a short period of time in your hometown of Chicago.
Yeah.
You went to
which was-
Portillo's?
we did.
What all did you eat? Lay it on me.
Well, I mean, what did you expect?
Let's go, Bulls.
We
Space Jam.
Nice, Jace. Good job. Bill Murray.
an all Italian beef hot dog with everything.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
An Italian beef sandwich.
Yeah.
A cake shake that I think nearly gave me diabetes.
Sure. That'll happen.
Yeah.
Kevin's a
They
big
call that
fan.
the Kevin Coelho special.
The Kevin Coelho fastball.
I wonder, how do we start that? How do we get that to be a thing across all Portillos? Just call it a
I mean,
Coelho.
we're barely getting my photo into new Portillo's, so we don't have
That's
to.
a good. That's a foothold. Though,
It's
my
happening.
friend. That's
I know.
a
We'll get there
foothold.
eventually. All right. Cool.
It was excellent.
How do you find this country that is America?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my first visit here.
Sure.
But
What's your
yeah,
best?
we love. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I mean,
So as a person
today
who
is
just
a,
came to this country for the first time, never been here before.
Yeah.
You just learned the language. You just learned the language
That's
before you
amazing.
came.
Yeah,
First off, your English accent, your American accent is amazing. Second off, real question though, what city do you like best? What resonates more with you?
So I'm going to offend a lot of people, but
Nah.
whatever I say. So
long as it's in California,
So
it's
I
not
love
gonna
Los
offend me.
Angeles.
There you go.
It's we spend a lot of time there.
face.
I moved out of Chicago and never went back.
Although it was our first time in Chicago, and it was a beautiful city.
Yeah.
By the lake. Weather was great. We were very lucky. Really enjoyed it. Great food.
Sorry. That's what you have
It's
to-
like
didn't
a
know what it was.
gremlin over there. Kevin doing some of the drapes. They shoot
Let
up.
him after me.
I just realized I left that move control on the table. We don't need it there.
I didn't know why the PlayStation Move controller here, but I wasn't going to doubt
practicing
it.
For Kind of Funny Live 3, we're doing some stuff there that requires a microphone. So
Oh,
I was
so
using
this is
that.
a real thing. I thought you were doing something stupid like on the morning show.
Oh, no, it's always
Oh,
stupid.
no.
No.
We
Andy and I were
rehearsing.
practicing some stuff. Yeah.
Doing some rehearsal stuff.
Andy, can you move that? Because it's just reminding me of how poor of a singer I am. Thank you. Thank you.
Great singer, yeah.
Well, so won't this post? Oh no! No.
No, this will go up to
Friday,
Friday.
no.
Yeah, before Kind of Funny Live.
Okay.
Ease off.
So Nick's already ruined the fact that PlayStation Move will be there in full force.
Yeah.
Ready to get it right.
Lots of exclusives being
A lot of
released.
PlayStation.
It's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
Move versus Connect. That's going to be fantastic.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like Paul did, where you can support us at a number of different levels, get the shows early, get bonus episodes, come on the show, do all sorts of cool stuff. But if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. You can go to youtube.com/kindoffunny, where we post the entire show topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big MP3 and video the following week. I want to start.
Okay.
I'm fired up, Andy Cortez.
Yeah?
I'm fired
Okay.
up, Paul. Maybe you've heard. I'm fired up. I want to know why people are so bad to each other. Why people revel in each other's misery. Why is it human nature? Are we all horrible people? Is it evolution? Is it something else? This all stems from just on the way over here. I was going through like, what are my topics going to be? You know what I mean? I'm bumping around. I have my list, all the different stuff. And what I got to was over on Reddit, someone giving applause to the New York Post for their headline with the Tiger Woods DUI of the Tiger.
Well, it's a good pun.
It's a good pun.
yeah.
I agree
see
with
what's
that,
on there.
fine. But why are we so excited to tear this guy down? Is it because he was up at one point? And it's not limited to just celebrities. Think about it in your circle of friends, high school, workplace.
Think about
Somebody
how we treat
fucks
Kevin.
up. How we treat Kevin. Think of somebody fucks up and you rub their face in it. You do all this
Think about
dumb shit.
how Kevin treats us.
Okay. You
Yeah.
got some Kevin thanks.
Kevin issues.
I'm just pointing out that it doesn't have to be Tiger Woods. It can be someone who is, less of a celebrity than Tiger Woods, and you can still want to tear him down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying without naming Kevin a million times because it seems like you have some unresolved Kevin stuff.
No, I mean Kevin and I. No, we're fine. We went out to Mexican lunch today. We're good.
Okay.
I think
It was delicious.
it was really good. What, Kevin?
What?
Kevin's got nothing to say. He's just trying to derail the show. You think?
I often wonder this, right? I don't know what it is about wanting to watch someone rise and then fall and then rise again. Like, we love this, right? We've seen it time and time again, especially in pop culture over the last, since I've been alive, really. There's countless celebrities who we enjoy. I mean, I think part of the joy of watching them rise to that height is to maybe there's some fucked up part of your brain that's they're gonna self-destruct. They're gonna Lindsay Lohan, right? They're gonna Amanda Bynes. They're gonna Britney Spears. Those are just off the top of my head.
Sure.
I don't know. I think on some level it reminds you that even though these people are quasi superhumans, that they are still human, and I think we all find that comforting. Even though it does come from a negative place, it just comes from a place of insecurity, right? Like, all of us know that at some level, we're going to fail at something. And then when you're out there and you see these people who, either by design or just by nature of what they do, seemingly have this perfect life.
See, but I think you're taking it in a direction it doesn't need to be. Is the fact of, don't get me wrong, Tiger Woods had a DUI. He shouldn't be drinking and driving. That's stupid. Always call Uber, always get a cab. Doesn't matter like that. I'm just talking about in the internet comments, the desire to be right and go for each other's eyes and do all this different stuff and just say horrible, horrible fucking things.
I think it's people trying to get that internet karma, the Reddit karma, the upvotes, the retweets.
That's part of it, probably.
It's people wanting that recognition for saying something slightly clever or slightly funny or whatever.
It's validation.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I also think it comes down to you're talking more in generality, not necessarily Tiger Woods, obviously.
no,
but,
take it wherever you got to take
But
it.
I do think that Tiger Woods has become somewhat of a punchline with what happened 7 years ago or whatever with his wife cheating on his wife or whatever. And then getting his car wrecked or whatever. South Park made fun of it, this and that, and he's never ever gotten back to the point that he was when he was at the top of his game, and killing it like in majors and stuff like that. And I do think. Do you think it's the fact that he was on top of the world, and now again people are just trying to like, hey, this guy's down here with us. Let's try to attack him as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think we also conflate sporting or entertainment prowess with being a great human. And the two don't necessarily meet. You can be a fantastic sportsman, but you're going to make mistakes like anyone else. And I think you like to see, as you say, these superhumans, people who can do things that you can't do, but actually, by the way, they mess up like we do as well.
Yeah. Do you think this is all making... I mean, I'm with you on the fact that I think in my entire time of life, Entertainment Tonight, whatever you want to do, a celebrity does something wrong or does whatever, it's going to be headlines. Whether it's Hugh Grant picking up the transvestite prostitute or whatever, Eddie Murphy doing the exact same thing way back before my time or whatever, or, anybody fucking up, it becomes a news story like that. But I feel like... And I don't know, and maybe it's just us or whatever, but in the way we exist in the internet and the way everybody's connected now, social media and Twitter and everything else, it's the same thing, but just being applied to normal people. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does, but I think it comes from an interesting, I think they probably come from the same place. I can't speak for the entire internet, but I know that when I want to tweet a snide thing out or I want to respond negatively to something, it very seldom has to do, like that level of anger or animosity or just shit spewing vileness very seldom has to do with that thing. It's usually I'm having a bad day or I'm not happy with something else that's happening in my life, and this is an opportunity to have an outlet to take that anger out on something, right? And we were talking about earlier about internet commenters when we were having a beer you were having a beer, I was having a Red Bull, whatever, in the kitchen. In that, I firmly believe that all these people out there that are throwing out hate wouldn't do that if they were talking to you person to person. Yeah. I think they might have the same criticisms, but I don't think that they would be forced to feel they needed to confine that into that 140 character like lash out, right?
Sure.
Like there's so much of our lives right now are just truncated, and that sucks. And that in and of itself is a frustrating thing, right? If I have a problem with Andy, but I don't actually know Andy, and I can't text Andy or I can't call Andy, and I have 140 characters, or I have what I feel like is maybe the space above a fold to get my point across, I have to make that as pointed and as sharp and as fiery as possible in order for people to hear it. And it sucks because more often than not, like that's not how you resolve conflict, which tells me that for the most part, what most people like to do is they're not interested in actually winning, or they're not interested in actually getting to the truth of a matter. They just want to feel like they wanted something for a second in their life, for whatever reason.
I also think sometimes success is relative. It's a bit like if you've got a sibling who's really successful, if they got, whatever their grade point average was 3.5, if you didn't get 3.5 or more, then you weren't successful. So people want to bring other people down to make themselves feel better and feel more successful.
Of course. And I think that's definitely part of it too. I think there's a part of it of saying like, there is something gratifying of pointing out someone's flaws, right? And doing it in a way that it can be validating. It's false validation, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, completely.
It's not real. And it could be an interesting stress relief. And also I think that a lot of people just think there's zero consequences, right? I honestly believe that a lot of people who leave comments on things like to throw it out there and just don't think about it. They're not thinking about that comment they made on a video 2 weeks ago, even though the person whose video it was on probably might be still thinking about it, or at least it's rattling around somewhere in their subconscious. I think it just comes from a place that we all have inside of us, which is I'm frustrated with something. Because life is fucking hard.
Do you think it's inherently
easy.
Flawed in the human condition that we're designed to be selfish, and so we want the best for ourselves, which inherently in some way means worse for someone else?
Of course, but I don't view selfishness as a bad thing necessarily, unless it starts to become destructive. So I don't think. I'm kind of a little Ayn Randian in that I think that selfishness is a good thing, and everyone does things for self. We had topics on this before, but everyone does things for self-serving reasons. It just. Where I have a problem with it is where you start being selfish at the expense of others. And I feel like that's kind of where you get into in that murky internet commenting territory, right? Which is that you're going in there to feel something, and that validation or that anger that you have or that need to be right or that need in some aspect of your life is going to be fulfilled here at the expense of others. Be damned. And I can't do that. I just can't indulge in that. I have it in me, by the way. Of course, you've all seen me get angry. You've all seen me make an inappropriate comment to Kevin or to Tim or something like that, like lashing out in anger. And that's really all it is. But I can guarantee you, if you stopped me at that moment and said, calm down, and you asked me what it's really about, I'd say, you know what, I just had a bad day yesterday, thinking about something completely out, and I'm taking it out.
Well, it's always the last straw, right? That's where it comes from.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people out there may or may not be happy with where they're at in life, and this is their outlet to get that angst out. And it's unfortunately not a good outlet for that. But I do think it's inherent to every human.
I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily all that. I think a lot of it does come from, like what I was mentioning earlier, just wanting to post wanting to post a cool, funny thing to be able to show your friends.
Sure. There is the one-upmanship.
Hey, I got 22 likes. Check this shit out.
Yeah.
Like, this meme is fucking awesome. Reddit, fucking, I guess not Discord, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere where your creativity can bring someone else down and also get you recognition. I think people jump at that immediately. Like, you look at anything that happens in the games industry. In a week from now, in about 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing E3 stuff.
Yeah.
And I, along with a billion other people on the internet, will see something silly and try to make a funny remark. Someone's going to wear the wrong
blazer in a Sony press conference, and we're all going to tear that guy apart.
We're going to try to make a meme about it. If somebody stumbles over something stupid, we're going to try to make fun of them for their own, to feel good about it. Just makes it's really stupid, but I think that's what it comes down to.
Well, we're also all being rated that much more frequently, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. You're getting likes. Too. Everyone, you're comparing how many likes you got to this picture, to that picture. Does it make it a better picture? Does it make it a better comment? I think we like to feel that if we've got more likes, that means that we're more popular and we're better. Exactly. So you do something more outrageous that attracts more attention.
That's a really good point, and that's something that I think is worth really thinking about. Is like we have built this whole culture up based on competition in every aspect, and like it doesn't really mean anything if I tweet something out and it gets more likes than something that Andy tweets out. Right? It doesn't really. All it means is that there's more people that follow me, and that I'm better than Andy, in every way, shape, or form. But it doesn't really mean anything in the real world. But I think that's very fascinating. I will say, like, I see this in myself a lot. It's very easy to dip into that side of yourself, but it's the wrong way to go. And I always that's why I've apologized to Kevin multiple times, because I feel like if I get in that negative space and rip on Kevin, and he always ends up being one of my whipping boys, like, it's just an obvious, easy thing to do that's cheap and useless, right? It's much harder to make a positive piece of content and put it out there than it is to make a stupid joke at the expense of someone else. And it's just, I don't know, but everything to me boils down to positive or negative, right? Are you putting out something positive into the world, or are you tearing something down? And if you're always constantly tearing something down, like, sure, that's fine, and you can get a lot of followers for that, and you can get a following for that, but ask yourself why, and do you want to be in that space, and do you want to be the person who is known as the guy that's just going to rip on people all the time? And that's never been me.
Andy, is there a way to put the genie back in the bottle and repair it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, a million news outlets report on Tiger Woods that he got arrested for DUI, right? Whatever. But to make the DUI the Tiger joke and then be applauded for it out there, and then that starts dialing back to everybody else. Like, we're talking about internet comments. We're talking about how people want to be, and we're talking about the snark of E3 or whatever the fuck you want it to be. Is there, I don't
think there's a way at all, no. I think we're just so selfish that we want recognition for all these kind of silly, witty things that we can create on the internet. When this Tiger Woods news broke, I didn't even see that one, but I saw like a million other ones.
Yeah.
Like, you type that trending tag, and there's tons of people making jokes about what he looks like. I saw one today about, he looks like a Furby in this image. Like, just a bunch of like really dumb shit, right?
Sure.
And then it turns out he wasn't even drinking.
Yeah, it was prescription medication or something.
He blew a 0.0 on the fucking.
I think he was asleep. I think the police found him asleep.
Right.
In his car.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think there is a way, unfortunately. I think it's just human nature, whether that's, it's shitty. But I won't lie, I'm the same way. Like, I don't know if I'll go to that extreme where it's like somebody's having a problem. I'm sure people will pop up with receipts of me talking shit.
Sure.
But No, I don't think there is a way to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
But I think it's also in regards to like celebrities too, specifically just with Tiger Woods. Like a lot of people just don't see him as a real human being, right? That's the problem with guys that get this big. Like Tiger Woods is one of the biggest sports stars on the planet. Still, even if he's not winning Masters championships, still like he's a multi-millionaire. Everyone knows the name Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
He's synonymous. He's ubiquitous at this point with golf. So I think that a lot of people don't realize that when you see that image, that's a real human being that had to stand in front of a mugshot and probably had one of the worst days of his year so far, if not of his life, that night. So, it's not, I don't know. I mean, the same could be said for any big name celebrity, right? You could also ask yourself, like, how come, well, I was going to bring up Trump, but I guess he kind of deserves it a lot of the time.
Well, no, I mean, like, the thing is, I just feel like it's a losing battle. Of what the internet is and the culture we have, and not even internet culture because I hate that shit. Just us as people that we just want to tear each other down and do all this stuff and always jump to the negativity, right? The next screenshot on my slide on this topic, right, is from Reddit. Over on Reddit, the Vita Reddit the other day, a kid put his Vita in the sand of an island or on a beach and took a photo of it and called it Vita Island. And like I was over there and I'm obviously in a thread like, this is fucking awesome. The amount of people on Reddit, on the Vita Reddit, that had no idea what PS I Love You was or that's a reference to us, I thought was really cool and like shows Vita's still alive, like we always talk about it, right? But then of course some people got into talking about it and everything else, right? And there was a thread there that immediately was, not immediately I shouldn't say, there was a thread that started talking about PS I Love You, talking about Colin, talking about him leaving, and then one that was like, it's got a fucking stick in Greg's craw that Colin's doing so successful. You know what I mean? That he's doing so well. And I commented, I'm happy for Colin and the success he's found. I knew he'd do great. Because of why would I fucking want anyone to leave here and fail? Why would I want Kind of Funny to be a launch pad to failure? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then the same person comes back and says, okay, I'm an asshole, no lie. Even typing that, I knew it wasn't how you would really feel about where Colin is. And he goes on to apologize and everything else.
Wasn't expecting you to reply.
But I mean, like, here's my fucking point of how that is way more, God, is that a punch in the gut to me more than the comment initially was. Of just the fact you've been following us since Beyond, and somehow you've missed the narrative I'm talking about of being a better person and being nice to each other on the internet and not sinking to this level and not, hey, I have a choice. Is it positive or negative? I'm going to go negative.
Yeah, but for everyone, and granted, look, I think that we're at the beginning of this this process, right? I think that social media has only been around for 5 years. So like, I'll paint a different picture for you, right? Like I see comments on Facebook every once in a while that are negative, but there's always at least one or two people in there that are like, no, this is the way it really is.
Sure.
Right. And that person is the one that those are the people in the community that you can look at and be like, oh, okay, well, that guy is clearly like listening, he's paying attention or whatever, or at least he's open to having a dialogue. So I think that's a positive point, and I think that's a good start. And honestly, the only thing you can do as people who are creating content is try to foster that community and try to keep pushing that message of positivity. But you also have to, we have to cultivate that internally here, and sometimes we're assholes about that too. Like sometimes we're just mean to each other. And
that's our biggest. I think that's the biggest thing we get into. I don't think this is it, but I think the problem we have is that we give Kevin shit, you give me shit, we all give Tim shit.
Right.
Everybody's cool to Andy. Andy's too goddamn beautiful to get shit.
No one gives Andy shit yet.
But then when the audience gives us shit on Twitter with no context, it comes off way worse.
Right.
Same thing on the ride over here. Ryan McCaffrey was going back and forth with somebody. I was looking at it a second ago to try to bring it up and read the entire conversation, but I think they've already started deleting tweets about it because it did escalate and then de-escalated because they DM'd each other and started talking about what it was. It was some guy threatening to blow up an embargo that IGN says they're going to have an exclusive, but he already has the game and it doesn't have an NDA, so why? And then
I thought you were going to say threatening to blow up a building or something.
I was like, maybe don't DM that guy. Maybe have him DM with the FBI.
No. But I mean, they talked it out. But again, it's just that first switch of like, we're off to the races. Like, I mean, like, and so my response, I almost chimed in on the thread before it started getting settled on its own. But just to the fact of, because like, it was the normal thing of maybe I'll blow up this exclusive IGN has, and McCaffrey going, don't do that. Think about when you want to work here in 4 years, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the guy going, it was just a joke, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm British, so I have a dry sense of humor. And like, I get that about you Brits. But we all have when you're putting something on Twitter, you all have a context. It's just a vacuum of context. And so that's the problem when you're going to put something out and it's mildly aggressive that's going to get somebody.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, is like intent and context matter, right? If you're just giving each other shit too, there's a difference between like, kidding around and chiding each other and actually like trying to make a comment that if someone reads it's going to hurt them. Right? That comment right there, like it must stick in Greg's craw. That's a comment designed to hurt you. Right? If that person had made a clear joke of like, when do you think Greg's going to move back in with Colin? Right? That would have been funny. Okay, good. That's funny. It still gets the point across, but obviously that's not going to happen. Right? So there is a lot of difference behind that. But I also think that to a lot of people, and unfortunately, this is the big issue, is that this is entertainment, right? People's
lives.
Other people's lives are entertainment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look at what the number one type of television was for so long. I don't think it is anymore, but like reality, quote unquote, reality TV is huge because people like to sit there and just sit in judgment from the safety and the sanctity of their own home, and shouting at a screen where that person can't hear back. But unfortunately, we've been conditioned to do that, and that's what we're calling entertainment. But now the people on the screen can hear you. Now they're like, hey.
That goes back to my whole, but this is my whole thing with the argument of like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound sanctimonious here, but have I taught you nothing? Like, I feel like I've been saying the same story example of Jim in the office. The Office is terrible. NBC needs to shoot it.
Right.
And like, it's like you're talking at the Kardashians are so dumb, but I would never tweet directly at Kim Kardashian and say that because I'm talking about the show in the moment and blah blah blah.
Yeah, but how old were you when you learned that lesson?
I know, but I feel like I'm teaching. This kid's been following me since Beyond.
But he's probably 16, 17. You know, maybe he doesn't understand. Do you know? I mean, do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's like, maybe you just taught him a lesson, and now he's going to be that person that pays it forward. That's what we have to do. It's a never-ending struggle.
I think there's
just
also
like pineapple on pizza.
There's a saying, at least in the UK, that today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Yeah, and that was true when 20 years ago it got produced and in a paper and then got binned and no one thought about it again. But now these things are in perpetuity. You can look up those articles, those posts, those threads in 10, 15 years time. They have a permanence to them that perhaps we didn't used to have before the internet. And I think people forget about that. They post it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Or you can shout something at the television and it's gone and you can apologize for it. When it's there and in writing in black and white, it stays that much longer and it associates not only with the person you've said it about, but with you. And people can go and dig up things that you've done on Facebook, photos you posted 20 years ago. And when you're going for a job interview, people don't appreciate there's that permanence to a permanent record to what you say and what you do.
I've said it a lot. I'm like so glad that when I was a kid, I didn't have social media. You have no idea how glad I am about that. You have no idea how glad that I right when Facebook started to get big was when I started at IGN, and I was around a group of people that were like, you can't type that into an AIM message, let alone onto the internet. You can't even say that to people in the office for fear someone else will hear that, let alone put it out in publicly. And I'm like, okay. But a lot of people just don't have that. A lot of people don't have that person, either that voice inside them or someone literally around them saying don't do that.
It's going to be mutual destruction, right? Because by the time, whoever is in high school now or, has been raised with the internet and Twitter and Facebook in their hand their entire lives, gets to running for president, everyone will have the same embarrassing shit to some extent on there. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I mean, look at even what's happening with Trump will be very telling, right? Like he is the perfect example of a person who no one ever told him to stop tweeting stupid shit out, and he made it to president. But now it's slowly but surely starting to backfire. We'll see what happens. Maybe that will change the era. Maybe that just doesn't matter anymore, and we'll be the minority of people trying to fight the good fight. But it doesn't mean it's not worth fighting. Yeah. Just because we can't win doesn't mean we shouldn't fight. That's just the way it goes. Sure. Plus, you have to be the change you want to see in the world, right? You have to be we don't have to change the world. We just have to make sure that we are trying our best to build the best community for ourselves, because that's the world we want to live in.
Yeah.
And I think that once you start to realize that it's not the 6 billion people in the world that we have to change, it's 220,000 hardcore people that enjoy us, that we have to make sure, they have the right mindset, that we're giving them the right stuff, that we're providing the right direction and message for them, and vice versa. Because a lot of times I'll see people that I'll say something stupid and they're like, Nick, that was insensitive or whatever. I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like, cool. There's a back and forth. There's a quid pro quo here.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone out there listening, I mean, we see stuff. We do. Greg sees everything. Him, and I don't. But Greg and Tim stay up all night and reading stuff. And so next time you're going to tweet some vile something out, just take a second and think, what if this person actually reads this? Well, how's that going to make them feel? And is that what I really want to get across? Because if not, maybe retype that message in a more constructive manner, and maybe you'll actually see real change.
And why wouldn't you be positive? Why wouldn't you say something nice to somebody? Why wouldn't you say, you look great, or that thing you did last week was brilliant?
People don't think it's gratifying, but here's the rub. It's way more gratifying to give someone a compliment than it is to tear them down. And it's way better for your physical and mental state to go, I don't like that person. You know what? I'm just not going to engage. I like that guy. Hey, I like your hair. Great. I mean, you both have great hair. But you know what I mean? It's better to, in that regard, it's way better to exist in the positive space than it is the negative space. Yeah. People just don't understand that they can choose to do that if they want. And some people maybe just can't make that choice.
Well, there's still room for criticism. I'm not saying you only have to say nice things to people, but I'm
I
saying
don't mean that.
criticism. I know. I'm just being
You
clear.
balance
I'm
it.
just spelling this out because
Yeah,
again, this will
absolutely.
be
Yeah.
a comment. This will be a landmine comment on YouTube or whatever. If people who
Sure.
just want to be mean and do all these different things.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good, and it's an important distinction to make. You're absolutely right. Constructive criticism's great. Criticism's great. I don't care. It's fine. But there's a difference between criticism and hate,
Yeah.
right? There's someone saying, Nick, I really don't like that hat. You shouldn't wear hats like that because it makes you look bald. Or makes you look like Bruce Willis, which is like
That would be a
bonus,
negative.
right?
Yeah, no,
Great
yeah.
compliment.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of things you could look at me right now and pick apart a lot of things. But what's the point? What is the fucking
Sure,
point?
sure.
I don't know.
I hear you.
That's why I leave you.
Are people nicer in the UK? You're all meant to be polite. I've heard the cookie stories.
I am.
The cookie stars.
One of the cookie stores.
Yeah, I'm.
The crisp story that got circulated on Reddit a while back or whatever of this guy waiting for the train got delayed or was running late, right? You heard this one?
That sounds pretty typical.
Yeah. So and the guy went over and bought some crisps, cookies as you call them. Like I assume a sleeve of Oreos in my head.
They're kind of
I
a
think
wafer, right?
I think we're mixing our chips are crisps. So
Okay, what are
crisps,
cookies?
Biscuits.
Biscuits. You got a sleeve of biscuits.
Yeah.
You heard this one?
No.
And then he sat down at the thing, put his biscuits down, opened his newspaper, and the guy sat down next to him and opened his newspaper, and then the guy who sat down reached over and ate one of his fucking cookies. And the guy reading the newspaper is like, this motherfucker's eating my cookies. And he's like, well, what am I going to do about it? And he's like, I'm British. I'm not going to do anything. So then he took one of his cookies and ate his cookie. And the guy next to him ate and like they went back and forth till the sleeve was finished. And then guy who sat down got up and left, leaving the guy who was like, I can't believe this motherfucker's eating my cookies. And then his train came and he shut his paper and looked down and he had his cookies still in front of him. So really, he was doing it to the other guy, and the other guy was also so
did hear
British.
that, yeah.
They just sat
They
there.
just sat there and-
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think we have a term called the stiff upper lip in the UK, which is this idea that people, I don't know if people are nicer, but they tolerate things.
Yeah.
I think we just don't say things. As you say, you could be wronged seriously, but you just kind of nod and smile.
Yeah.
Because that's the polite thing to do.
Yeah, we
I'm
don't
not
have
sure
that in
actually if people are
America.
nicer, but I think
That got filtered out over the last 250 years,
yeah,
unfortunately.
but I think outwardly people are much more kind of vocally positive here in the US.
Vocally positive.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Okay.
Like the service you get and the way people will interact with you is much more positive. I mean, people joke and complain that service in the UK is terrible, but it's just a more reserved, more polite. It's a more of a kind of a neutral.
Yeah.
Whereas I think here it's probably more extremes. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference
I don't
between
think we're
European
more- I think-
service and American service. Like we have this ridiculously relentless steps of service that a lot of people follow here, but it also has to do with like we really like to eat a lot and we like our food fast and we don't have patience. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, and yeah, Brit would never complain about slow service or poor service, but they would probably internally be sitting there thinking, well, I'm never going to come back to this place again.
steaming,
They're never going to tell anyone. So it's kind of, I'm not sure if it's more productive or less productive.
I know growing up, I remember the tabloids over there being ruthless as well, right?
Yeah.
On the celebrities. Do you see the same internet behavior from folks over in the UK?
I think less so.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes from that kind of politeness. I think that the tabloids are a whole another topic.
Yeah.
But I think they were very driven individuals and very driven organisations to make exposés and to sell newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally people are more polite on the internet, but you still get a lot of negativity and you still get a lot of negative commenters, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I don't think anywhere has got the right answer yet. No single country or single community or single population has got it right. So
I don't know what the solution is. I don't know
No.
how to fix it. Andy, you worked over in Austin for a while with these rooster teeth fucks. Mm-hmm. A lot of them younger than you. I'm not gonna say how old you are because you're old as hell.
I can't imagine they're younger than Andy.
A lot of them are younger than you.
I think he's like 19, isn't he? Look at
74-year-old
him.
man when he joins.
Are they, is the generation below you even more caustic, more angry, more prone to be like
Well, it's
snarky?
It's hard to say because everybody at Rooster Teeth has a little bit of a following, and they like internet recognition, much like a lot of us do. I keep going back to that theme because I can't really say that anybody back there who is younger than me, like around 23, 24 years old,
Yeah.
is better on the internet because they love the recognition that they get from memes and funny tweets and shit like that.
Right.
So I'd say everybody there was generally really nice because they're just awesome people, and they wouldn't want to hire anybody that's shitty.
Sure, no, everyone met there's nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really tough to say, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know. I got another for you, Greg.
That's fine. I just want everybody to stop being mean. I don't want the default to be mean.
Yeah, sure.
Tiger Woods shouldn't be DUIing it up. Agreed. We all agree with that. You can report that news, not celebrate this headline, and then kick it around.
That's also fucking newspapers aren't doing great, so they want.
The New York Post has always been that way. Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
But I mean, they're known for that. Yeah.
But that's how the internet is. What the internet is, though.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
But
BuzzFeed takes its cues from that.
But the bigger they are, the harder they fall as well. So that how many other people were arrested for DUI in the last 48 hours?
Jesus.
But only one of them appears on the front page of a newspaper.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine if that headline didn't read DUI the Tiger. Imagine if it read Tiger Woods needs help. Like, that's a very distinctively different message that you're putting out to your audience, right? And clearly he does. If he was, I mean, I don't know what causes. Maybe it was just a mishap of like I had a cocktail and a prescription drug and it had a bad
He wasn't drinking as well?
chemical reaction.
I still haven't read the
He
article.
blew a 0 on the breathalyzer, but so he just had back surgery, and
So he was probably on pain medications.
He was given pain medication.
That shit knocks you the fuck out. Trust me, I've been on it. So it's possible that he accidentally took too much of it, and that's what led to that. In which case, like, I'm sure he'll be fine. But we all, and myself included, when we went through like the Britney Spears era, where we were like, here's a person who is shaving her head and running out into the street
With an
umbrella, and like, assaulting paparazzi, and we're all sitting here laughing about it. There's a person in crisis, and no one fucking said that.
Yeah.
Not one paper. Well, I'm sure there was, but I can't remember one headline going like, "How do we help as a collective group of people this person that we love?" Whose music we love.
It's a mental
How do we
health
do that?
issue at that point.
Well, yeah, you're fucking breaking down. Like, you have she probably had a problem with substance abuse. She had a bunch of people around her that weren't positive for her, and nobody wanted her to get better because they just wanted her to shut up and play her music and make money. That's fucked up, right? And we're all a part of that, so we all just have to recognize that as well.
I think we also need to remember what the purpose of a newspaper is. Is it to report the news as a public service,
money.
or is it to sell newspapers? And which of those gathers more interest and sells more papers on a newsstand?
And that goes for Huffington Post, and that goes for every other website out there.
Yeah. But again,
we need your clicks.
Again, I stand by the fact that if you can inspire people, that is 10x stronger than if you can instill fear in people, which is what most of our mainstream media does right now. Like, how many fucking times do you turn on the news and it's like, crisis in Washington. This is what happened in right? And then you get to the one positive news story and you're like, oh, I guess I feel kind of good about myself. Imagine a world where the Rachel Maddows of the world or the Anderson Coopers were like, hey, here's 10 things you can do right now to make your life better. And here are some news stories that are inspiring to you.
Dr. Oz.
Like, that's why I watch like
Just fake medicines that he sells and shit.
Well, I don't know if Dr. Oz is I don't know if he's the champion of that. My messaging there, but you know what I mean. Like, and that's what I know that we are. All the things that I'm saying we shouldn't do, we do sometimes, and I realize that.
I think it's human nature.
I guarantee if you, for the rest of this podcast, you're going to catch me say something stupid to Kevin that can be insulting, is really denigrating. But at the same time, it doesn't, like, no one's perfect. But it is a matter of, like, can you choose to be in the positive? Can you choose to be an inspiration to the people around you, and not a person who's going to tear them down for your own sick pleasures? Yeah.
Nick, what's your topic?
Wait, hold on. Are you going to switch your hat to a different location?
Do you need me to?
So this
Is that
is a
gonna
new
signify,
topic.
Wait. While you debate the situation and how you're going to move it around, I want to say thank you to everybody who supported us on patreon.com/kindafunny. Your name is not going through the infamous scroll bar.
Do you want me to sing The Wind Beneath My Wings by Bette Midler?
I do want you to do that.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wished I could be. I can fly higher than an eagle. I thought it was a rainbow.
Beagle?
I thought it was a rainbow.
Okay.
They don't fly though.
Beagles don't fly either.
You are the wind beneath my wings. Ready for it, Greg? Ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Nick has a deceptively good falsetto voice.
That is a great falsetto.
Yeah.
Fly high.
That's great.
That's what it is.
Really good.
It's really, really good.
My topic is, I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, but we didn't. We had really good topics, and so I saved it, put it in my back pocket. Now I'm gonna throw it up.
Bubblegum.
Man.
We had some really good topics.
This is
How
gonna
about
be a
you,
shitty
Zach
topic.
Crump?
No, we had I think a couple of topics go long, so I couldn't do this. But I
Okay.
thought this would be really cool. I've always wondered when you see a movie that costs hundreds of $millions and then doesn't do that money back in the box office, why people didn't go see that movie.
Okay.
So what I want to do with you guys right now is watch the official trailer for King Arthur, which is a movie that came out starring Jude Law, Charlie Hunnam, and directed by Guy Ritchie. Okay. And this movie came out and it did not do well.
Gotcha.
I hate to use the word bombed, but it bombed.
Okay.
I can pull up the actual official stats for you guys here.
While you do that, Kevin, explain to me how we're doing this for the audience at home.
They're gonna have to just watch this, unfortunately.
We can't embed this, or we can't do it. We're doing that.
Oh, I guess we can do that. Yeah, we're still gonna hear it, but
I mean, if it gets blocked, then we'll have to do a show without it. Remember, we're watching the King Arthur Legend of the Sword official trailer, brackets HD. It's 2 minutes and 16 seconds long.
Yeah, it's got a weird little thing at the beginning of it, but. I think maybe we should watch it with audio, maybe not the visual, and then people can watch it. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, so follow me on this. Couldn't we do it, and then when we upload it, we'll know right away?
And can edit it.
You could break out this part, put it up, see if it gets the episode blocked, right?
I'm sure we watched about 4 minutes of Top Gun this morning.
That definitely got you blocked.
Sorry about that. It was the entire volleyball scene. Sometimes Kevin goes in all of that.
Scene, but yeah.
Nick and I can recreate the whole trailer.
If
you want.
I mean, we could do a sync experience for those at home, but I mean, we also.
Why don't we do that?
Well, then
we're going to do the volleyball.
Do you want us talking over it or letting it go?
We can talk over it. Yeah, we don't.
Kevin, do you want to do a time jump? Right. So you put an edit here and you jump. Basically, you cut 2 minutes and 16 seconds out. All right, everybody. So we're about to watch King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, official trailer HD. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and pause it right now. Find it over this. What channel is it on over there? The official version we're watching. We're on the Warner Brothers Pictures one. This has 5,922,838 views. We're about to give it 839. So you can now play a game of when you watched it based on our view count.
See how many views? Okay.
So we're gonna watch this and jump back to it.
That's fun.
What if the numbers got lower?
No, that'd be really weird.
Something mischievous would be afoot.
And we're back. All right, we've watched the trailer.
Movie did a worldwide, as of right now on Box Office Mojo, worldwide $119,900,000, but it costs a reported $175 million to make. So that's a pretty big loss for them. Now the question is, I saw the original trailer for this, teaser for this, which was very Guy Ritchie, very jump cutty, crazy, right? And then obviously this is a little bit more mainstream. I had no desire to see this film, but because of a set of circumstances that were beyond my control,
Yusef McGee.
Right, I ended up actually seeing it, and I really liked it.
Wow, really?
I was like, I liked it. I mean, it's enjoyable. It's a very enjoyable popcorn blockbuster, like fun film.
Sure.
Right. So I'll open it up to you guys. Like, what you obviously it came and went and wasn't even a blip on your radar.
No.
Why not?
Well, I didn't see that trailer. I mean, I feel like I'm always an interesting tester, but I just don't get to the movies or watch much TV.
Sure.
I was on Fanboys today over on Twitch, and they were talking about all these. I'm like, I don't know how you guys have any hours in the day to see this much television.
They're not married.
This much stuff. I don't know.
I'm joking about.
But looking at this, like for me, it's a few different things. Number one, we already have a Game of Thrones. I am not of the mindset, with the exception of things I'm super into, like obviously superheroes and stuff. Like I'm not like, oh man, this genre is so hot right now. It goes the opposite, where it's like, that looks all right, but I'm sure Game of Thrones is better, and I'm not even that big of a Game of Thrones fan. Mm-hmm. Number two, and a big knock for me, is that with all due respect to all the actors in there, none of those actors are ones where I'm like, yeah. Like Charlie, I like the first 2 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, but then I associated him with Sons of Anarchy, which overstayed its welcome and got so weird and diluted and ended awkwardly. All right, fine. Then it's Jude Law. I can't think of another Jude Law. He was in
Young Pope.
He's Young Pope. Is that good? I haven't watched it.
Who knows?
All right. Same idea of like, Jude Law, I think right now, and he's in Sherlock Holmes, which I didn't see. I just know it from trailers. I don't like that time period, so I never saw Sherlock Holmes. I like Robert Downey Jr. fine, but I like him as Iron Man.
It's really good.
But it's like,
I think you'd really like it.
There's few actors that actually get me to fucking go, and I'm going to go see that picture. It's like we talk about The Rock, right? I'm going to still see Baywatch. You didn't like Baywatch. I'm going to still get out and see Baywatch at some point. Because I like The Rock that much, and I like Zac Efron that much. Like, I'm in it for that. Sure. Like, there's got to be something. There's nothing about that movie or that trailer where I was like, that's a Greg Miller jam.
This reminds me so much of The Mummy, The Scorpion King with The Rock, where it's a...
Saw that in theaters.
Did you?
Yeah. That was back in the day when there was nothing else to do.
That was Mummy too. Yeah, I saw that.
What's out this weekend? We're going to see the movie.
First off, it's not a Marvel movie. It's not a Disney movie.
Right.
It is not an IP that really
I'm joking around.
But it's not an IP that really anybody gives a shit about right now.
Yeah.
If this were in the Lord of the Rings universe and it was done by Peter Jackson, it would have made
Been
noise.
3 films.
People would have, too long. People would have cared about it more, way more. There's not this genre. I mean, I love the genre. I love fantasy type stuff. I love Game of Thrones. I love Lord of the Rings. I even liked most of the Hobbits, actually. But there's not any actor that you can put in this movie that would make me want to go see that movie. And I saw it.
What did you think?
I walked out just like,
That's
I
something
could have
did.
not seen it, and it would not have changed my life.
But did you think it was bad?
No.
Yeah, serviceable, right? It was fun.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun.
I mean, there were some fun scenes. There was a lot of scenes where I was like, I don't want to be here.
I thought the beginning was awesome.
I want to go home, really.
Yeah.
The very Guy Ritchie sort of jump cutty sort of stuff going on there in the middle. When, I don't want to spoil anything or whatever. But there's nothing that you can put in this film that would have made me want to go see it. Now, if you said this movie there's a King Arthur movie directed by Christopher Nolan with maybe
with like
Christian
Fassbender as
Bale
Arthur
and Fassbender, you're like, I would have given a fuck about that.
I mean, here's my thing. Did you see Dunkirk? Is that out yet?
It's not out yet.
No. it's not
See,
out
I don't
yet.
even fucking know. That's the thing. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Like, I wish it was that easy for me sometimes because, like, I like Martin Scorsese. I didn't go see Silent, right?
No.
Silence, what it was. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right, well, no, that just doesn't. There's nothing about that trailer that's getting me excited. But it's such. I feel for movie makers. You know what I mean? In terms of it, because it's like. It's either your trailer didn't excite me or your trailer was awesome, but it showed me too much. I feel like those are the extremes we have right now, right? Where it's like today on the show, they were showing the Spider-Man trailer, the latest Homecoming trailer, which I haven't watched. And it just kept going. And I kept glancing back and seeing new things. I'm like, fucking stop. Like, I've seen 4 Spider-Man trailers already. Stop giving me more stuff. And then they watched a Baywatch trailer when we were talking about Baywatch. And I was like, fuck, I didn't see any of this. Like, because I actually cut myself off from Baywatch stuff. And it's just this weird thing of like, I don't know how you get motivated somebody to go see a film right now.
I also didn't know it existed.
King Arthur?
Until we went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy,
Really?
and there was a poster on the wall, along with that Lowrider movie with Melissa Benoist. Benoist? How do you pronounce her name? Benoist?
Supergirl.
Supergirl? She's in that movie Lowrider.
Which one's Lowrider?
No idea. That's an indie though. I don't think that's not a blockbuster.
Yeah. But it was there were posters on the wall, and Kevin was like, "You're gonna go see King Arthur? Are you excited about that?" I was like, "I've never heard of it."
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we were out that night that Yusef was.
So
like,
why did Yusef want to go see it?
Okay, so
he loves Guy Ritchie.
He loves Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he had not seen this. This is what played in the favor of us seeing this movie. I was like, okay, we could definitely. He's like, I want to see a movie. I don't drink. He doesn't drink. So he was like, we should go see a movie. And I was like, great. That's a fucking. He couldn't have said a better
Speaking
thing.
Nick's language.
Oh, Nick Scarpino, because guess what just came out this weekend? One Alien Covenant. And he goes, that sounds great. I've never seen an Alien movie. Should I watch this one? I'm like, no.
God, no.
You should definitely not start watching this one. What else do you want to see? He's like, I really want to see King Arthur. And I'm like, now, I had just listened the week prior because I was down in LA for some stuff. I was driving around in a rental car, totally tearing that shit up, to a interview with Guy Ritchie on Joe Rogan where he actually talked to him for like an hour and a half. And it was weird because it was a time capsule because the movie had already come out and I already knew that it did poorly. Like the opening weekend did badly, but he was talking about how he has to make the rounds and like you never know how a movie's going to do and how much when he was a kid, like King Arthur was like the coolest fucking story to him. And he always wanted to redo it in his way and like picked Charlie for a different reason, picked Jaimin for a different reason, like all these things he got to put together in his cast. And I was like, that actually kind of sounds like a fucking cool movie, but like, I don't get that from the trailer.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't it creates a bit of a vicious circle, this whole piece, to your point about, Greg, about competition.
Yeah.
There's so much competition to, every week there's 2 or 3 things coming out. There's Disney properties, there's Marvel properties, there's Star Wars properties. I mean,
it's not even that, right? It's competing for your time.
Well, quite, yeah. And there's games, there's TV, whatever it might be. And so then if you're a studio exec sitting there going, well, how on earth are we going to get any attention? Well, we have to pick something that is going to resonate with people. Oh, Guy Ritchie, that's a name people recognize. King Arthur, well, I think that's a name that people recognize. So you end up cobbling together these sort of relatively known IPs or individuals or actors or whatever it might be, and then producing an average film. But I'm sure Baywatch got produced in part because it was The Rock, in part because it was Baywatch, not because somebody had a great idea and thought they could produce a wonderful film.
I can see how the meeting went with the first executives, right? They were like this. They put up just a picture of Baywatch, and then they just put up The Rock, and everyone's like this.
I'm in.
Throwing
It's like
money
people are
at
doing
them.
the 80s, 90s stuff. Let's bring that back. And And rather than saying to a great filmmaker, can we produce a great new film, people are saying, well, how do I get recognized in an environment that where there's so much competition that I'm not sure that anyone's gonna have any interest? And then it comes out and it gets a couple of bad reviews, and then people go, well, I've got 20 other things I could be doing in my time. I'll go and do one of those. It might not even be terrible. It's just only okay.
That's my question for you two. And I mean, you had different reads on the movie or whatever, but was there a moment for either of you where Yusef's like, oh, because you had gone to dinner and then it was like, let's go do something else. And the movie came up. Was there a real conversation between you in your head of maybe I should just go?
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I was like, I don't want to see this movie.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like,
oh, you mean maybe I should just leave and not do
hey, man, happy birthday. I don't want to see this movie.
But,
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But then part of me is like, why? Part of me is like, why don't you want to see this movie? Like, who cares? It's a fun blockbuster movie. Get some popcorn and go see it. And your friend wants to see it, and you're out with him. It's his birthday. Let's go see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that can happen? It's a hilarious story. Like, if it had been bad and I hadn't enjoyed it, I would have given Yusef shit for the rest of his life for that.
Yeah.
But there is also a part of me that's like, some of the best experiences movie going have been the ones that I wasn't expecting. And sometimes you have to open yourself up to a bad movie to actually have a good. I really liked the first half of this movie. It's very Guy Ritchie. There's lots of crazy jump cutty things where in that Guy Ritchie style. I think the action is superbly directed at moments.
Yeah.
I fucking love Eric Bana. So you put Eric Bana on anything, and I'm like, yes, right on, man. He was the best part of Troy, second to Brad Pitt's abs. And so I feel like, I was glad I went. And it's unfortunate that every human being that should have gone to see that movie didn't listen to that same interview with me, because it is kind of opposite of what you're talking about, right? Yes, King Arthur, I think, is probably in the public domain, so anyone can make a King Arthur movie. Same with the reason why they're making a Mummy and a Frankenstein movie and all that shit, right? Like, it's a notable name that at least gives someone something to.
Oh, you mean the Dark
right?
Universe?
Right, the Dark
Yeah.
Universe.
I'm sorry.
Of course,
Let's call it
the Dark Multiverse,
the
whatever
Dark
they
Universe.
call it. But I really believe that Guy Ritchie wanted to make this movie. I don't think it was hey, we're producers looking for a director for this movie. I think it was Guy Ritchie going out and pitching and being like,
Passion
I really
project
want to do this
something.
passion project.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I picked these awesome British actors. But for me, I look at that, and Charlie Hunnam is not. He's just one of those guys that I look at, and I just don't think of him as a big movie star, right?
Yeah.
And he just proved me wrong. I walked into that movie thinking, oh, it's the guy from Sons of Anarchy, and I think he was in Pacific Rim, and I did not like that movie. It just didn't speak to me. And so I looked at that, and I'm like. And I hate to say it because there's that old divide of TV actor versus movie actor, but I'm like, this guy resonates more with me on the FX shows.
Sure.
Him and Ron Perlman kicking around some hogs,
Kicking around some hogs.
I never watched. Sons
really?
of Anarchy. Nah, I never watched
It was a lot of fun for a while.
Wasn't Al Bundy's wife in it?
Yeah, Katie Seagal.
So I see that, and so I have a little bit of a bias with him, similar to how I have with Armie Hammer, for instance, right? Every time I watch an Armie Hammer movie, I'm just like, I don't like this guy in these movies. I like them as the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah.
In
got him twice.
Winklevoss, yeah, he did
Winklevoss.
double the pleasure.
Did you see that they tossed him? Rock threw his name out for or whatever. He came up in some interview for possibly being Shazam.
Yeah.
And Rock was like, "I'd love to see that" or whatever.
Yeah,
Just that'd be awesome. What a callback, because he was supposed to be Superman before that Justice League project.
Yeah,
failed. Or is he supposed to be Batman?
I think he was supposed to be Batman.
Hey, Batman,
I think they tapped him for Batman. But he's one of those guys, him and Taylor Kitsch, were the guys that were trying. You just kind of look at him, you're like, you should have been a movie star, but you just got the wrong project.
See,
for
that's
you.
You're saying that he proved you wrong in King Arthur. I think he proved you right, and with all due respect to him. But it's a weird thing. When we watched Wonder Woman this week, I had that moment of Gal Gadot smiling when her and Chris Pine are dancing, and I was like, damn,
It's not dance, by the way.
she's
They didn't actually turn around.
they're swaying. Sorry,
it was weird.
Damn, she's a movie star.
Yeah.
That's somebody you look at and you're like, that is a movie star. You were destined in some way.
She's not doing a season of NCSI.
Right, you know what I mean? And not to
movie.
mention that she puts butts in the seat. You know what I
She
mean?
does.
The Rock
She
puts
got me to
butts
see
in
it,
the
yeah.
seat. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Where it is we had this topic before about comedies where I'm like, I need to back the people like Seth Rogen in the Neighbors franchise. I'm like, I need to fucking go see those if I like those and make that happen. And that's the thing of Charlie doesn't do that for me and for a lot of other people, obviously, and to some extent. You know what I mean?
I'm converted now, though.
Because it's like Mark
I'm a fan of this
Wahlberg,
guy.
where it's like Mark Wahlberg, I think, with all due respect to him, he picks a lot of bad movies a lot of times.
He does.
But he keeps fucking making movies and people keep going to see him, so the cycle keeps getting repeating.
Well, what's funny about Mark Wahlberg, not to get off on a tangent, but I feel like he's way better in a comedic role than he is in an action hero role, right? I feel
100%.
like he's not a bad actor. He just always plays that typical we need a buff guy, okay, put him in Transformers.
Yeah.
And then you go see him in a gem like Daddy's Home. and you're like, this guy's pretty funny. Or Ted, for instance.
Ted was a better role for him, yeah.
You're like, this guy's
Buddies
fucking
for life.
funny, right? Or
Yeah.
I fucking loved him every time he showed up in Entourage, right?
Oh,
but
sure.
that's
Yeah,
the TV show, obviously not a movie. But like, I think he can do good
was a
work.
movie, actually.
But it was a good movie. It was actually a good movie. I don't know if he was in it. Oh, he
Was it a
wasn't
good
it.
movie?
He wasn't it. Yeah, dude.
Okay,
The
I
Entourage
never saw it.
movie
I never
was
saw
legit.
it.
I told you to watch it. It's not like
Yeah, well, after Daddy's home, I will never fucking listen to you again.
and Grandpa's. No,
I
you
told
watched that
you to
incredible.
watch Dirty Grandpa.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's interesting, but like,
Really, I thought that was the other way around.
No.
we're
the
both wrong.
narrative has sort of.
We're actually
flipped
both
here.
wrong, by the way.
You can repaint
We had watched
past
it
and-
independently of each other.
Yeah, and then I
you
came in and I
you were
told
like, you.
you.
Should watch it. I was like,
You're
I
like-
just watched it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
You should watch Daddy's Home. You're like, okay, we're bonding, and then I totally.
That's why I gotta get it. I gotta get to Baywatch and decide for myself if you can be trusted.
The thing about Baywatch is that's obviously it just fell short in a lot of ways, right? It's an enjoyable movie. I mean, you're gonna go and watch it and be like, okay,
Yeah.
Like I think what they wanted desperately and what they were trying to emulate was a 21 Jump Street, and
Sure.
they just didn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't work, right? There's just a lot of jokes that fall flat. Unfortunately, pacing issues, story issues. It's not. I mean, if I watched that on demand, if I paid $5 for it, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But I was very jazzed to go out there
Yeah.
and support The Rock. I love Zac Efron, or actually, he's not even Jack Efron in this one. He's like Shrapped Efron.
Shrapped
He's like so shredded in this. It's actually,
0.0001
like-
body fat.
dude, it's almost to the point where you're like, ew, that's gross.
Like
you gotta
you can
stop,
poke
bro.
his spleen almost.
He looks like a fucking action figure. He looks like a Todd McFarlane like Spawn style action figure where he's like jacked out, but it's whatever. I have my own issues with body. But yeah,
I think
go
we're
see
getting
it and see
into
what you
another
think. But
topic
I
here.
honestly think you're going to be probably a little disappointed because I think
Oh,
they
yeah,
underutilized
yeah.
The Rock in it. I think they did probably had made a lot of poor
What's
choices.
interesting when you talk about why did King Arthur bomb, why do these movies bomb, is the person I go back to that I think actually has it figured out, and stick with me on this, is Kevin Smith. In the way of, I have a podcast, I'm going to make a dumb joke,
Yep.
now it's become Tusk, I'm going to go, that was not Kickstarter, did he crowdfund that?
No, I think Tusk was independently funded. I think they actually got funding for it.
My apologies. Okay, but he does this thing where he's like, I'm going to make these movies for my audience.
Yep.
And I know that doesn't work as a mainstream thing,
Not
but
with
that's
a
what
$200 million budget.
That's what mainstream's
yeah,
got to
sure.
wake up to, right? Is mainstream's got to wake up to the fact that there probably is an King Arthur audience. I mean, it made some money, just not enough.
Yeah.
On some of these things, all relative as well. If it had been a low budget film, if it had been a film that had a name that you didn't necessarily recognize, like Lock, Stock or Snatch, people
Sure.
go and see it with no expect. I don't know who this Guy Ritchie is. We'll go and see this film. Oh, it's a fantastic movie. You go in like a Transformers and say, "Oh, I'm expecting some amazing film." Oh, well, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I think if you go in with these expectations, I suspect if you go in to see Baywatch and think, well, this is going to be terrible, but I'm going to go and watch it anyway, you might be pleasantly surprised.
Like I did with Dirty Grandpa.
Well, that's exactly what happened with being Arthur, right? I'm like, oh god, this movie looks terrible, and from start to finish, I'm like, I liked that movie.
Actually, this was
It's
okay,
not
yeah.
bad, like fun.
Also,
fun
I just
movie.
don't know if they promoted it correctly. Like, so I don't have
They
television.
did it first, and that's another good sticky. That's another good point that you bring up.
Where was the
had
first
really-
spot that you like?
I saw it on the internet. I saw it on YouTube.
Okay.
And so it played. I saw it's the teaser trailer, which is like, if you remember, I don't know if you do or not, but it was weird and cool. It was just them running through like the town, and it was very jump cutty. You were hearing their breaths like jump cut, and then they jump off this thing, and then it's like Guy Ritchie, like King Arthur, yada yada, and went into the actual trailer. But I'm like, that was pretty cool, actually. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I saw it in the theater. Before, it played before a movie, and then they went to the more traditional, like, let's not bill this as a Guy Ritchie film, which I think was a mistake because I think a lot of people, I think it worked, that style at least.
Yeah, to me, like I am always on the internet, whether it's on my phone or on my laptop.
I know.
I don't have television, so there's no way I'm going to see a trailer through a traditional TV channel.
They should have put an
or whatever.
Overwatch ad in.
Yeah,
an
they
Overwatch.
should have. They should have.
That would have got
But
you.
like, I didn't see it anywhere,
Yeah.
right? And embarrassingly enough, when we just watched a trailer right now, I didn't know the subtitle was Legend of the Sword.
I had no idea that either.
I thought it was
just
just
saw
King
that
Arthur.
today. I was like, oh, shit, I
which is
forgot about
like
that.
pretty telling if somebody who saw the fucking movie didn't know that it was called Legend of the Sword.
It's also sad because it had that
It's an
title
awful
because
name.
well, it's a bad name, but
Awful.
they're trying to set it up for a sequel. So it's gonna be King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, King Arthur, and the
The
Knights of the
Round
Round
Table.
Table,
Yeah,
whatever.
colon,
King Arthur,
yeah.
Spoiler alert, that's how it ended.
They set up their own table.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's big change.
unfortunate.
there,
What shape was this? Oh,
So that's
oddly enough,
they leaned very heavily into that joke. By the way, what is
dear.
it? Is it a table? What is it?
It's a big pinwheel. Sorry, we're just being super denigrating of your people.
Oh no,
I
I
apologize.
felt my people. I felt so at home there for a moment.
There you go.
It was beautiful.
Well, you know, I've been a
sort of
cheeky,
had a
I've been a
flashback
cheeky
on that.
nano.
If it had been raining and the temperature was about 20 degrees cooler, I'd have
And that's the weird thing, and what it'll be interesting to see is Hollywood tries to figure this all out because not only did this movie not do well, we're talking about how Baywatch and Pirates did really terribly and stuff in terms of what they need to make for these huge budgets. And stuff like that.
Pirates did better than Baywatch, I think.
Sure,
though.
but they still underperformed for what they were supposed to do.
It didn't open as strong
and
as
it'll
they
be
wanted
interesting to see then how budgets reflect that, and then how you go and activate those audiences. Of King Arthur wasn't going to be a mainstream success, but Guy Ritchie coming to Joe Rogan and telling his story worked for you.
Yeah.
So why not go do that with other places like Joe Rogan that have an audience that are open to hearing that, and then say fuck it to going to do the Entertainment Tonight or the regular traditional tour, you know what I mean? Where you
Would
go
you
through
both, right? Or, you
Sure,
know,
but
trying.
I'm sure you got to make a sacrifice somewhere, especially when you're dealing with a smaller budget.
No, I think
We
you're
need to-
right. And I think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh no, I was going to say you need some brave people who will do some slightly different things with which may tank but may be fantastically successful, because I think
Sure.
if you choose the average route, you're going to end up with the average outcome. If you say, well, let's put a load of spots on television, then you're not going to capture the audience perhaps that you want to capture.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we are seeing that. I think right. You rightfully pointed to Kevin Smith, although his last movie didn't do so well. But creators like that. But then I think they are starting to take a few chances. You can point to Deadpool and Logan as two of those chances, right? At the 50 million mark of saying like, okay, let's try this and see what works, and it really did in those two. But yeah, then you have Baywatch, which unfortunately just missed the mark on a lot of levels.
I'm not being funny, but if you spend £200 million or $200 million on a production, you've got to get to a certain level just to pay that back.
Yeah.
If you're producing a $50 million film, your bar is that much lower.
Yeah.
You're creating a rod for its own back. You're creating something that I'm not sure that people want to produce these franchises, but I'm not sure every film needs to be a franchise. Some films can be great independent. Small films.
Definitely not, but that's not how Hollywood thinks right now.
Nope.
Everything's
No,
got to be a
it's not.
franchise. Everything's got to be the dark universe. We're going to bring everything. And if that ends in a Monster Squad movie reboot, I'm okay.
Oh yeah.
If that's the whole reason we're building up to have Monster
Do
Squad.
they have to call it Monster Squad?
Yeah, they
Or
do.
can it be,
Fuck
okay.
yeah.
All right.
It turns out that they've been super serious with it, and like Mommy and Dracula and Bride of Frankenstein, and then it's like full blown. They're bumbling buffoons fighting these kids again. I'll be like, yes,
That'd be awesome.
Thank you. It paid off.
So a slight tangent.
Starring
That was
Jack Black.
That was the in the UK we have 15 and 18. That's the certificates you get. You get universal PG.
Okay.
Now you get 12, then 15, then 18. So 18 I think is R. Or
R, yeah.
It's somewhere. Monster Squad was the first 15 rated film I ever watched.
Wow.
I remember going
Good
to the my brother and I going to the video store and seeing it like some. I imagine it was on some.
Like 13th shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
Only adults can get to.
Quite.
Yeah.
And I watched it again like a few weeks ago. It was a great, genuinely
holds
a
up.
great film. Oh yeah.
I just watched it at the Alamo Draft
Hilarious.
House recently.
Pop quiz.
Good stuff.
What movie is responsible for making PG-13 an actual rating?
Oh, I know this one.
What Spielberg film is responsible for making PG-13 an actual rating?
Film.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, do you know or not know?
Is
Is this trivia?
To the audience, we don't have a chat. We
I'm
can't,
pretty sure it was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This isn't a live show, Nick. We can't wait.
Let us know, Twitch chat. No, we've done this
2 weeks
before. This thing. I think either.
I think it was.
Turns out it
Raiders.
wasn't.
Yeah, it was Temple of Doom. Excuse me. Ooh, I was
That's what I
wrong.
said.
This is Temple of Doom.
This is where you get internet hate.
So which one was then the
Comment
first?
everyone in the
Red
comments.
Dawn was the first PG-13. So on August 10th, 1984, only 3 months after parents were outraged over the release of PG-rated Temple of Doom, Red Dawn, a
Oh,
drama
wow, I
starring
was
Patrick
totally
Swayze,
fucking wrong.
became the first film to be released with a PG-13 rating.
I was totally wrong.
But you're kind of right.
I
Like
thought it
you
was
understand
Raiders
how
of
it
the Lost
worked. Yeah, exactly.
I thought Spielberg. It was a terrible pop quiz. Pop quiz.
a teacher in class, pop quiz, everybody. Who founded whatever country? Who gets all the responses? Like, well, what do you guys think it is?
Let's take a vote.
I didn't know. I was just asking everyone. I
I wasn't going anywhere with
I was
this.
interested.
I'm very curious. I just wanted to know.
Paul Joyce, what's your topic?
Thank you, Greg. So my topic is a deep philosophical one, cunningly disguised as a question about Star Wars.
Love it.
So my question is, does canon matter? And the reason I ask it is, obviously there was a lot of furore around when Disney bought the Star Wars franchise, that they deleted the whole extended universe.
Yeah.
And my question was, firstly, does it matter? And Who should decide what is and isn't canon? And do we actually need somebody else to tell us what is canon? So, for example, in Star Wars, I refuse to believe that Boba Fett's background was Jango.
But it was. And have you heard about midichlorians?
My view is that I can take what I want from that.
Sure.
If I want the extended universe to be what happened, and I hate to break it, none of these things actually happened. So
your fucking English mouth, my friend.
Shall I get in a galaxy far away?
We filmed those over in your neck of the woods. Okay, so if you want that,
we
shit
threw
to come
you
over
some
here.
business, some shillings. This is how you're gonna repay us.
In plywood. So I suppose my question is, do we need somebody else to tell us? Whose right is it to tell us what is and isn't canon? Because clearly Disney bought it and decided they were going to change their minds. Is it up to, in Star Wars case, George Lucas as the inventor and an originator of Star Wars? I mean, it's just a more broad question, is that do we need to be told what is and isn't canon, and does it really matter?
I do love that Lucas and Disney have their own historian who is the holocron keeper. What's his name?
Is that something from Transformers, the holocron?
No. It's also from Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, good.
So he is the
Overlap.
Oh God, I was about to pee in a bit too.
Bring me a beer.
You go first. I'll bring you a beer. You want another beer?
Oh, yeah, I love a beer. Thanks.
You want a Red Bull?
No, thank
Give
you.
him a Red Bull! Red Bull American
Is that the Red Bull?
Yeah, he's hanging 10.
But it was also the Crocodile Dundee for our good friend over here.
Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, we got Crocodile Dundee. He ain't
Truth.
So one of my
Cultural appropriation right there.
my former roommate, he is the biggest Star Wars nerd of all time. And he actually wants to become the next holocron person, historian or whatever.
When that guy dies.
Yeah, whenever.
Is that how it passes?
Well, they're gonna try to kill him. That's the thing.
Oh my God! That's a movie right there.
Okay,
That's a good movie.
that's a good. Yeah, call Kevin Smith, Kevin. Okay.
That feels like a kind of 80s flick, doesn't it? I mean, like Weekend at Bernie's.
What was the movie? What was the movie where the kid had cancer and so they tried to sneak into Lucasfilm to watch? Where they tried to sneak into Lucasfilm to. Did you watch Phantom Menace? Yeah, you remember this?
Yeah.
That was a fun movie. Anyway, sorry.
That sounds like a documentary, actually.
That was a good movie.
Okay. Do I think canon matters? I like the idea that there is an arbiter at Disney saying, this is what is fucking real, this is what's not real.
This is what happened.
It's just like some weird authoritarian thing that I think is really awesome. Now, are you, like, so when Grand Admiral Thrawn was brought back in Rebels, were you like
Fanboys.
as jacked up as everybody else was? I don't. Oh, that's the name of the.
Yeah, the movie's called Fanboys.
I thought you were calling us fanboys.
Sorry, my apologies.
So when Thrawn was brought back, did that come as a shock to you because he was part of the EU and that was like essentially like decimated or whatever? So was that something that excited you?
So I suppose it started to occur to me when they just decided that 2 days ago this was all canon. 2 days later, well, no, we bought the company. We can do what the hell we
I
like.
had a quick question. Was the EU ever canon? I don't think it actually was. I think it was just widely accepted as good fan fiction. And distributed. But I don't think it was actually ever been like, oh, this is canon.
So I suppose this is kind of my bigger point, is that to me, I think you can read as widely as you like, and you should kind of take what you want from it. That's just my personal view. You can, if you like that, you like to believe that this is the way, Vader came to be, or the background of Yoda, or Boba Fett's background, whatever it might be. I kind of feel like I should be able to decide and pick and choose.
Sure.
I kind of like the idea that I don't need to be told by somebody else which of these I can take and which of these I can disregard. So whether the extended universe ever was canon was sort of, it sort of feels irrelevant to me. I want to be able to take what I like because I want to feel a little bit, and this is where the philosophical bit comes into it, is I want to feel like kind of master of my own destiny.
Sure.
Like I want to be able to pick and choose. I don't feel the need to assign that responsibility to an authoritarian figure, but I completely understand why people do. And it probably wasn't until that happened, I would just say, oh, that was canon. Okay, well, so that's what happened. That's the background. That's the origin of Spider-Man. That's the origin of Deadpool, whatever it might be. I kind of, as I've got older, kind of like the idea that I actually can disregard or regard whichever elements I want.
I hate that idea. I hate that idea.
Really?
Yeah.
So really quick before I go pee.
Nick isn't even back yet.
I wait for Nick to get back.
And I was going into a long thing. You could have gone right there, but you want to steal the limelight.
I could tell you were going to go into the comics realm of all this stuff, and I wanted to hit that before you were able to do that.
I'm keeping in them. I'm going to keep with Star Wars. But go ahead.
So for someone who
you can do something you know about, Greg, if you like.
Watto.
I know a lot about Star Wars, guys.
So for someone. For someone who doesn't have time to digest all of this shit that is thrown out into the world, whether it's books or comics or web series or shorts or whatever, I am the type of person who, even when I think of, if I'm told to read a Star Wars book or a novel, and if it's not part of the universe, I immediately go to, well, that shit's not real.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, why am I going to read like a fan story or whatever? So I immediately, I do think that it's important to have canon, and that's the stuff that I will follow. Whenever I ask for people about comic book recommendations, which is very rarely, I will often ask, what are the stories that like really fucking matter? I don't want this offshoot series of Spider-Man where nobody read it and it's like 2 comics or 3 comics long or whatever. I want like the definitive truth. I know the definitive truth is like been told by 18 different people or whatever, but I still would rather know what's the closest to real thing that exists out there.
And who do you think defines that for you? Who is the arbiter of that?
I guess friends or recommendations. But when it comes to Star Wars isn't necessarily like comics. I mean, a million people haven't retold different versions of Star Wars. It's comics. There's all these different authors.
See, and that's my thing is that. With Star Wars, I feel like there needs to be an arbiter because that universe is so vast. And the fact that this is what Star Wars is. We're basing off these 3 movies and everything happened. And I mean, as an outsider, I thought the EU was canon. So if it wasn't, it was just widely accepted. Okay.
Yeah.
But all the same, that if everything Rebels and all these different shows are tying into it, I think there needs to be somebody because they made that decision that everything's going to be canon, right?
Continuity, yeah.
Right. For me, does canon matter in comics has always been the thing. I'm always pro blowing up canon. I don't think there should be a DC universe. I think that there should be Max Landis' Landisverse, and if he wants to come back and tell stories in it, great. If somebody else is like, hey, I'd love to tell a story in that universe because I want to use your Clark Superman, great. I think it fucks up comics more than anything because people are like, oh, where should I jump in? And I'm like, oh, read this, that, and that. Yeah. But I also think that the fact that comics have been so shattered and there are so many different Elseworlds and continuities and pre-crisis and post-crisis and New 52 and then just stories that are told, Superman for all seasons. I think that makes it easier to answer your question. We're like, give me a badass book, or I'm like, here you go. And then it's the example of yesterday leaving Wonder Woman. Sean Finnegan asked me, he's like, hey, did you watch the Supergirl finale? And I'm like, no, I'm too busy. And he's like, oh, well, did you see anything from him? I'm like, yeah, I know, spoilers, she fights Superman. He's like, yeah, and she beat him, and then they were having a conversation, and Superman was like, no, I was fighting at full power. And I was like, and this is Sean, he's like, I didn't think Supergirl was more powerful than Superman, but I looked around the internet, and I couldn't get it. And I'm like, it all depends on what continuity and what story you're reading, and blah, blah. And that's when it's like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's so many comic book stories and so many interpretations of characters there that I'm fine with it. And it doesn't have to be like Star Wars where I feel like there's one universe you're playing in.
Yeah, and I quite like that idea that you can just tell your own story and you don't need to, if you're going to write a story for that, go back and research because you get into that situation where somebody who's read a lot of the comic books says, oh, well, in issue 753, Superman didn't have this power, and then in 857 he did. You can actually just say, well, look, it doesn't matter. These are just different tellings of the same idea, of the same concept.
Yeah,
and I quite like that idea that you can have, like, you don't have to then, like Marvel did, create the Secret Wars where the Marvel universe and the Ultimate Universe collide and it explodes and because. You can just say, well, this exists and this exists and these
and that's the Achilles heel of continuing comic books and a canon of comic books is the fact that inevitably you get to a point where it's like, all right, cool. Like I was catching up on Spider-Gwen on a plane recently, right? And it's like I'm having a great time, and oh hey, Spider-Woman and Silk are in this issue, and I finished that, and that last page is get the next thing in Silk, and then the next one in Spider-Woman, and then back to Spider-Gwen, and it's like. Well, I just have Spider-Gwen, and that's all I want to read, and that's all I bought. And so I'm jump back to the next Spider-Gwen. It's like so much has happened. I'm trying to catch up on it, and it happens in DC all the time too. That's why I love the idea of what I've always wanted is get an artist and get a creator and be like, you have 12 books. Tell your Superman story. And they get to say, it's in this continuity, it's in that continuity. Great. But they don't have to worry about tying it into some big event. Yeah. But like movies where I'm like, I don't understand why they do it this way, how they do the promotion, blah, blah. Apparently, the events work. The events get headlines. Hey, we're doing a crossover. It is this. It is. I think that Justice League versus Suicide Squad was a great example of it, of just like, hey, there's this event and it's its own thing. And I think there were some tie-ins, but it wasn't like it wasn't trying to contain that arc in Superman, Justice League, and Suicide Squad where I had to read all these different books to get to where I wanted to be.
Well, I quite like it when I remember Nick and Tim talking about La La Land and about what, how do you interpret the ending of that film?
Sure.
And I quite like the idea that actually there isn't an answer to that question, that you can interpret it how you see fit. I mean, you can ask the director what their view was, but actually it's up to every individual viewer. There wasn't a right answer to that question.
Sure.
And I like that idea that we have that our own agency to decide what we like. I know a lot of people stopped watching Star Wars because they felt that ruined it, the fact that the extended universe was no longer canon, or certain elements happen in the prequels they didn't like.
Let's be clear.
With all due respect, those people kept watching Star Wars.
Okay. There's maybe one or two people who are like, I'm not going to go see The Force Awakens. And then they fucking went. I guarantee they went. And they cried when they saw the Millennium Falcon like I did too.
But, or it ruined it for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. But, and there are some great stories out there. And yeah, I think Andy hit the nail on the head where I think a lot of people like to know what they're supposed to care most about. And especially with comics, there's so many different variants of everything that it's nice to have at least some sort of guide of like, well, this is the thing that kind of matters, and this is the story that's just kind of fun and one-off. But I do think that, like, while I believe that canon matters, I don't think that it matters as much as everyone thinks it should. For like the main Star Wars 9 movies, right? I think that's important to have those go and all make sense together, right? To have some level of continuity, and that is canon, right? But I also don't think that it matters necessarily. Like for instance, with Marvel, the Marvel movies. Like, I don't think that they necessarily have to worry too much about making a Logan movie and have it really, really tie into everything that came before it, everything that's going to come after it, right? Like, I know it's hard, and I know it's hard because you're getting audiences that are kind of fair weather mainstream fans in a lot of these movies. Like, you want to appeal to people who don't necessarily know that Wolverine is in the same universe really as Spider-Man. But I think that you do kind of stifle creativity in that regard.
Yeah.
But you can have so much fun with it too, is what it's great.
Of course.
That was the thing. I watched Honest Trailers, the Honest Trailer for Logan, and I didn't even realize, because I mean, like, the Wolverine solo movies for the most part were fun popcorn flicks or whatever they left, with the exception of Word, which was garbage. But spoilers, I guess, for the end of Logan, which I thought was funny when they put in there. Whatever. Anyways, the Honest Trailer made the joke that back in the Wolverine was the one in Japan.
The Wolverine was Japan,
One of the mutants touches him to see his future and says, "You die with your heart in your hands." And then that was a callback. It foreshadowed that in Logan that he dies holding Laura's hand. And like, I was like, nice, that's fucking awesome. And I never even, and like, for me, it meant so much more that it was like Patrick Stewart and it was my X-Men that they totally fucked up and then kind of just fixed. And it was like, great. All right, cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Cool.
Like, when you're dealing with a universe that's just movies or just something, I think it's easy to be like, all right, cool, this is what it is.
Right. And I can imagine Kevin Feige sitting there and having, I like the fact he has a plan, and I like the fact he has a continuity across a range of films, but it's that kind of broader idea, I think, that I don't like that element, and therefore it's just going to ruin the whole thing.
Like another great example of continuity working, I think. And again, these are simplified situations in Star Wars. Star Wars is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's fucking movies and TV and toys and cartoons and blah, blah. I love the fact of like the CW universe, watching Flash, and when they changed the timeline, I on the morning show reached out to Arrow fans and I was like, did that get reflected in Arrow? Because I'm not watching. And like, yeah, this changed. Like, that's fucking rad.
That's cool.
That just changed. And like, it's like one of those things.
Because Dig had a daughter first.
And it's like one of those. I think it might have been the opposite. No, you're right. I think it was a girl and then it became a boy. But it's the same thing of like, I'm sure that was weird for Arrow fans. I guess maybe not, because they probably got introduced when the Flash came through. Because I watched that crossover episode, but whatever.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool to have an official continuity. I think it's cool to have an official canon because it allows you to do stories that we haven't seen before, right? I mean, you have to. You can't have Avengers without the 8 movies that built into Avengers. I think there are 8, and you can't have those without some level of someone watching over there and saying this is official, like canon, right? There's at least a level of continuity that we're all going to say, okay, this is for the movie universe. This is official. I think it can backfire though, in terms of things like Star Wars, because I honestly believe the original trilogy and the next 2 films are going to be great, but I'd fucking love if they had the balls to be like, you know what? let's remake the trilogy. Let's remake the prequels. Let's just go back and retcon those out and just remake them because everyone's like canon matters, but in reality, like nothing from that series really matters. And if you watch closer, you're like, there's a lot of things that they're just not like.
I haven't seen a Metachlorian count in quite a while.
Exactly, things like that, right?
No one's there like with their.
That'd be great. Last trailer starts though, and like he's putting Ray through all these trials, and he's like, "Let me see your Metachlorian count."
You know what? It's not going to be good enough. We need you to run around a little more so you get faster.
You have like 14 less Metachlorians than Yoda did. So.
Sorry, so Yoda's going to kick your ass. But I think that at a certain point, holding too firmly to that can yield bad results as well, right? No, I don't think there's going to be. Well, maybe there's one or two Star Wars fans out there that are like, I fucking love the prequels. But I think that if you were to tell the average Star Wars fan who's my age that, hey, we're going to remake those, they'd be like, thank God.
But you would piss off a lot of kids who grew up on them, who did like them.
Yeah, but then they'd get more Star Wars, and they'd probably be like, who gives a fuck?
And then I suppose what happens if
they'd have the Razor scooters, they'd be fine.
What happens if somebody else buys it from Disney and then just decides
no one has that much money?
Well, let's
maybe Amazon or Google.
It's possible.
Or somebody else comes in and says, actually, who is that arbiter?
Let's hope it's not DC.
Well, you can understand when it's when it's somebody
who they're next to get bought by Disney, which will be fucking weird.
DC would be awesome.
I know.
They'll just destroy it and do it again.
I know and then we'll get the crossover Access movie. It'll be fucking rad. Remember Access, of course.
Who
remember? Because it was a homeless guy that controlled the power to go between DC and Marvel Universe, and then he gave it to a guy named Access who had a really weird outfit that he could go between, and then the Lagma universe happened, but they separated that, and then it turned out both universes were ruled over by giant mechs. It was weird. They shook hands
canon?
though. Yeah, that's canon.
As long as they don't,
before it got blinked out 4 times.
I'm fine with Disney buying DC as long as they don't redo Suicide Squad because that's a perfect film.
When you win an Oscar, what are you gonna do?
It's a flawless film, Nicholas.
But now to double back, and I guess
I'm not even gonna.
To your point of like, I'll just ignore that, right?
Yeah.
This is a minor Wonder Woman spoiler. But if you've been paying attention to anything leading up to this movie or know the basics of most Wonder Woman continuity, it's not. Okay? Cool.
She fucks Chris Pine.
She fucks him, man. That's not where I was going. No, the fact that she's a god, right? That she is Zeus. Zeus is real. All the gods of Olympus were real. So the gods of our planet were. This is like. For me, in DC Universe,
like Greek mythology,
when comic books happen, I can't get into Wonder Woman's story because of that. Even the New 52 run, that was amazing. I started reading, and it was her dealing with like all the Greek gods. I'm like, I just can't do it. And so I'm able to shut that down and ignore it. She shows up in Justice League. She's got powers. She's dating Superman. The Superman Wonder Woman series, I did love. They only toyed around with a little bit of him having to deal with Ares and stuff like that. Great. But in a universe that is like, our reacts is up by the time this posts. In a universe where they had a chance to make it all pretty grounded, and that's what they said they wanted to do, to then jump to this movie now that is canon, that is the 3rd or 4th now DC Universe movie that's just like, yep, and gods exist. It's like, but I already had to get over magic existing in Suicide Squad, but that wasn't a successful thing. So
but Suicide Squad, they implemented magic so perfectly and seamlessly. It's just such a good.
Don't fucking
who do you think
stare deeply into my
Who do you
eyes
think Tattoo Man's gonna be? He's got a huge role. Best Common's got a huge role in this movie.
Rubbish.
I watched that Reacts again like 2 or 3 days ago, and it was
the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What
and
we
then
said.
the Batman v Superman one.
It's dead quiet. And we open a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, you just look at each other with the.
I sat in my fucking car for like 20 minutes, just like sitting there, right? And again, this goes back to topic number 1. Why do we tear people down? Just like. I don't want to tear the people down. It's just this movie. Oh my God. It just really, really depressed me.
Yeah.
And
because it was just a miss.
It was such a miss. Dude.
Again, I don't think we tore the movie down. I think there was a lot of constructive criticism of why the movie didn't work for us. And I think that we're not in the minority on that. I'm pretty sure everyone that went and saw that movie was like, yeah, we agreed that it had no plot and we didn't care about any of the characters, and it's really hard to make all these villains likable people because by definition of what they're supposed to be, they're not supposed to be likable. But
to the point where I was like, well, that was fucking $28, like the food that I bought and everything at that, and it was like a shitty.
That was the worst thing for us is that you weren't here, you weren't part of the company yet. But that was the thing where we went to Alamo, we were super excited.
Oh God.
The pre-show started and the power went out. And we were like, fuck. And then we had people with us, friends or whatever.
It was an omen.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of there.
And it was the rare occasion we had gotten Colin there. We had gotten Colin to the Alamo to watch this movie, and it was like, fuck. And it was this thing. They finally came out, and they were just like, hey. Yeah, he said it was a sign and left and never came out. But the power was out, and it was that thing of like, well, what do we do? And it's like, we're going to go. We found tickets at Tan Fran. We're going to Tan Fran. We got an Uber SUV, paid way too much, got there, ate at Hooters, had really mediocre wings, and went and saw this movie. And it was just like, fuck. Come on. You know what I mean?
It was just disappointing, wasn't it? It was just a letdown.
Right, but there's a perfect example of someone that like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go back to I guess that is canon, but like continuity wise, like you just don't have the right arbiter of that. You don't have the right person or people or team looking over and making sure that these things got off to the right start. And that's why, honestly, like if Disney were to buy DC and totally destroy this, it'd be the fucking best thing imaginable.
Because I mean, here's the thing: is like Warner Brothers is in a corner now. They can't nuke it. No, they can't admit defeat. They have to try to fix it over and over again. And Wonder Woman now is Wonder Woman's, and that's a good thing. Ben, don't do this. Stick around.
He wants out.
I know he does.
He wants out. He doesn't want that fucking David Cal anymore.
That's stupid.
So this is the question: should they accept what's come before and create things that follow on, or should they just say, "I want to create some good movies and create the best movies they can"? And so that I suppose the question about Canon is that. Wouldn't they be better to create the best next movie, whatever that might be, rather than say, well, okay, so we've already set this up in this way, so we're going to have to follow that.
No, that's a great point. That's a really, really great point.
Here's what I think they should do. Recast Batman. Make a standalone, non-canonical Batman movie. And if it does well, like get a great team together, get whatever the next Christopher Nolan is.
$30 trillion.
I don't say give Christopher Nolan. I say give a Kevin Smith or a Joss Whedon or a J.J. Abrams.
Honestly, the answer that nobody wants to hear is give Landis it.
Or give Landis it, right?
How great was Chronicle? How great was American Alien?
Yeah.
Do this again. Do this for the DC Cinematic Universe. Fucking blow it all up and give us Batman or Superman.
So this is what I think they should do. Subversively, like, hey, we're just doing a one-off thing. It's not Batfleck. It's a different Batman, different team, different style, different movie. Like it's just for fun and shits and giggles. It's the Logan of the or the Deadpool of the DC franchise. And then if that does well, you start to slowly sculpt the franchises around that. And let the rest.
I mean, this would be another. This would be honestly, this would be a huge departure because it's not how Hollywood works, but it's how the internet works and it's how our culture works and everything else. It'd be huge to see them just come out and be like, "Hey, we heard you. These movies weren't great." I mean, David Goyer's statement I thought was awesome, right? The one we put out about Suicide Squad, where he's like,
"Oh yeah,
yeah," or maybe it was
David Ayer.
I'm sorry, yeah, where he's like, "Hey, yeah." I would have, if I had known what I know now, I'd go back and I wouldn't do it that. It wouldn't be a world-ending threat they're facing. It would have been, and like, I think that humbleness is what works for us so well. And the fact that, hey, we're just morons making content we want to share with you. And so to have a press conference that is wave whatever, but you bring everybody in and you're like, hey, everybody, we heard you. We missed the mark. We're going forward. Wonder Woman will continue to do her thing, but now we are making a new Superman movie. This is Superman, that's Batman. They aren't connected. They aren't a thing. This first of all,
But if it works out, we'll make it a thing.
Why try to copy Marvel and do it 2 steps behind, or arguably not as well? Why not break off and do it in your own way, in a way that you think will be successful?
Because this is the whole thing. I think you see with Hollywood, right? The way you see with Hollywood really is just like trying to capitalize on what has worked before. Yeah, everybody wants proven winners.
I've seen that.
No one wants to take a chance. Right. Nobody wants to do.
That's why I'm saying. I think the big mistake that WB made was that they were trading off the fact that they were hoping Man of Steel would be amazing, and it unfortunately fell short.
And if it would have been that trailer, it would have been amazing.
What's that?
It would have been that trailer. It would have been amazing.
If they had just played the trailer, if they had played that trailer for fucking 2.5 hours, I'd have and I'd have walked out because I cry every time. I still watch that trailer sometimes when no one's watching me.
Yeah.
Not the fucking dad version. I watched
Jor-El version.
The Jor-El version, of course.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, I just saw Christopher Nolan producing. I know that's producers, whatever, right? That name doesn't really mean much in the film world. But seeing Christopher Nolan as someone who doesn't care about Superman, I was like, I'm gonna be there fucking day one, dude.
Yeah.
The thing is, and that's what I'm saying. You look at the Batman franchises, and with some interesting choices in the '90s, there's been some really good Batman movies, right? Like there have been far more good Batman movies than Superman movies. I say you start with a stellar standalone Batman tale, and see where we go. Don't make it about the Joker. Let's not get back into that trap again. We've already seen that. Let's fucking give the Riddler some time to shine. Let's give the Penguin some time to shine. Get in there, do it in a style that is very noir and cool and fucked up, and then you do the complete opposite with Superman.
Yes.
Because Superman needs to be about the sun and fucking
And
vibrant
bright
blue colors
colors.
and not killing people.
And Jiminy
Batman
Jolly.
needs to also be about not killing people because that's a terrible choice that I would have totally fucking vetoed in the room if I could have, but I'm nobody. And go from there, man. I honestly think we're only going to get, like, I think Wonder Woman, and I'm with you, I thought Wonder Woman was a good film. I think that's the best we're going to get.
Paul, you had a great. This is a great topic of how to pick DC. How to make DC better. It's a great topic.
Oh man, who'd have thunk we'd bring that back?
And send this to Jeff Johns.
Don't worry.
Is this am I canon to Kind of Funny?
You are.
You're canon,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
You're with your face too. That's interesting. But like, I would love to see
Cool
with those
Greg's
guys.
extended universe.
But I would love to sit with Jeff Johns and those guys and like Joe Quesada and all those guys that are like quasi in charge of this and be like, what do you think of all these things that are going on? Like, candidly, do you guys have a lot of power in these? Because
Well, I mean,
I've
that's the
seen
whole
great
problem.
stories come from those guys.
That's the whole problem. And what was my worry with Wonder Woman is that it was after Batman v Superman. They're like, all right, something's wrong. Jeff Johns is being peeled off of comic books, and he's going to go
Try to fix this,
be
yeah.
on film, which is great with the exception that
That's right, he became
Suicide
the Kevin
Squad
Feige, right?
was already way gone, and Wonder Woman was already way gone.
But
and so it's like,
You're putting sticking plasters on.
can you fix? And so then it is Justice League. I don't know how much there was there, but then you figure whatever comes after Justice League, which I assure you will not be Cyborg, as the Cyborg actor tried to tell you.
But maybe this is good. Maybe this is good, right? If Jeff Johns came on to really kind of shepherd Wonder Woman, good sign.
Well, I think
Not bad.
I don't know that.
It
I
was a
think
good
Wonder Woman was
movie.
already done.
You think it was already
I think
done?
Wonder Woman was already. I think that's the train has left the station on
I feel
those.
like, yeah, I really feel like that. I mean, and it's unfortunate because Zack Snyder had to leave Justice League for some family problems. But like bringing in a Joss Whedon to finish that film.
Well,
and,
I mean, it's the exact same thing,
like,
right?
let's go.
There are
Give him the next
underpinnings
one.
of what's fucking happening
Give him
here, where
Batman.
everybody's like, I mean, like Aquaman's happening, right? And Aquaman's Mira already looks different than Mira in Justice League. Why? Because I think Jeff Johns is there and he fucking wrote Aquaman, and that's what his Mira looks like. I'm sure they're trying to double down on that. And then it's the thing of like, only the Cyborg actor at some random fucking panel is like, oh yeah, the movie's still happening, right? No, what you're hearing about is that there's a Batgirl movie coming from Joss Whedon.
Oh, fuck,
It's like,
that would be
yeah,
so fucking
guess what's
cool.
happening, everybody? These are the movies they're correcting, but they're not saying, yeah, and that Shazam thing, sorry, Dwayne Johnson.
And I'm hoping oh, go ahead.
No, I was only going to say that's what Marvel seemed to have done so well, is they said, get great actors, get great directors, make great movies. And then that kind of built, you take an Iron Man, you take a Captain America, you take a Guardians, and then you build it from there. And I think, Nick, your point is exactly right, that you create a great Batman film, you create a great Superman film, you create a great Wonder Woman
let's
film.
focus on those first.
You then, it starts to get some momentum, the ball starts to, attract some speed, and then you can do other things. You can do more difficult things like Marvel did with Guardians. Like, no one knew Guardians before.
Yeah,
and you can do the same.
That's astounding. The success that they've seen with Guardians just blows my mind.
Which is so weird to me because if you remember when Edgar Wright left Ant-Man, and even Joss Whedon, when he left the Marvel franchise, it was the idea that they're making us shove too much stuff in these movies that aren't ours. They want them
Same
to be
with Jon Favreau.
They want us to be the Marvel
controlling.
cookie cutter thing, and like Guardians so isn't. So what does that mean, I wonder, to them, like to a director? And then what again, back to Batgirl, what is WB promising Joss Whedon? They're just like, do whatever the fuck you want.
That's what I'm hoping.
I hope so.
I was about to make that point earlier. I hope that Joss Whedon is saying, hey, look at Avengers 1 and 2. Avengers 2, I was very limited, and there's all the stories about what Marvel kind of made him do, and
I got to make this next movie happen.
It's fast.
Right.
Same with Iron Man too.
They were very controlling with the production of Avengers 2. So I hope that he tells DC, kind of like Hideo Kojima's doing with Sony, like, hey, let me do my thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to tear this shit up. It's going to be fucking awesome.
You imagine they
Just
are,
step
yeah.
off.
You think, but the problem
Yeah.
is DC's in a different spot, right? You remember when he was, they had Iron Man, the Iron Man franchise up and running. They had the Avengers series was awesome, right? When they all came together, Avengers, we had Captain America that was they were in a very successful place that they could take risks. DC is not in that place. They cannot take risks. They have to fucking knock everything out of the park. Remember, they don't have, they have Fantastic Beasts now, but they don't have that mega Harry Potter franchise anymore. So they need these DC movies to come through. And again, we're all splitting hairs. It's not, these movies may not be critical successes, but they're all making $1 billion a piece.
Yeah.
So there is that. But yeah, where I think when they got to Ant-Man and they got to Guardians of the Galaxy, they were like, cool, we've fucking knocked it out of the park, or at least won every game we've played so far. Let's give James Gunn a chance, and let's let him just fucking be himself. Let's let him make Slither in space or whatever the fuck he's gonna do, and see what happens, right? And they trust him with that, and that's great. But I also think that they're a lot more I just think that Kevin Feige really kind of has a grand plan that's a little bit better put together than DC does right now.
But it's sort of like with any company, you have somebody who demonstrates some success, and then people trust them, and then they allow them to be a bit more creative. And the problem DC have is that they're starting from a position of
go ahead.
No, I was going to say they're starting from a position of weakness, and they're always trying to catch up. And there's probably somebody with a personal agenda behind the scenes saying, "Oh well, that didn't quite work out. So why don't you do what I said you should do for this next film?" And you have that. Kevin Feige made 2 or 3 great films by luck or by judgment, and then people back him and say, well, go in whatever direction, and we're going to give you whatever you need to get the right directors, to get the right actors.
How amazing would it be if instead of what I just suggested,
they made a great movie?
They called back Christopher Nolan, were like, instead of Dunkirk 2, we need you to make a Superman movie.
World War III.
We need you to make a Superman movie that is in the Dark Knight universe. Go. And that's the DC verse from now on. How amazing would that fucking be?
Well, that's what they should have done. They should have taken the Nolan films and kind of rolled
I'm sure, again, I don't know this. I haven't read a lot about it, but I'm sure some exec at Warner was like, hey, Chris.
I've got a great idea.
So I know you just wrapped Rises, right?
And it sucked.
It wasn't. I know you're.
It didn't suck.
Are we going to get into that now?
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that.
Why did it not suck?
The fire sandwich. How do I eat if I can't breathe without
Batman, walk out in the concrete light of here. Be in broad daylight. It won't look stupid at all. Oh, throw punches in slow motion that don't look good at all.
Dark Knight, but it's during the day.
Oh, torture your only confidant your entire life until he sees you randomly at a table. Oh.
Yeah, you could have just told him. Send him a text message.
Oh, why did your knee kick so hard, but it never comes back in the movie? Oh.
Nick has bad knees too. Why don't you give him a super knee brace?
Oh my God!
No, but
fuck Rises into the ground.
No,
Batman v Superman is a better movie than The Dark Knight Rises.
I want you to strangle yourself until you can't see the light.
Fuck y'all. Fuck you all.
I'm sure at some point they had the conversation with Nolan. I'm sure, that they were like, "Hey, can you shepherd this franchise?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I want to go make real movies." And then he made Interstellar, and everyone's like, "Good choice, good choice." Because in Inception, that was fucking great.
Topic 4.
Andy, what's your topic?
Should we talk about bubblegum?
You can do whatever you want. I thought we had a different one, but I'm down for whatever you want.
I
don't fucking call it audible. That's not how the show is. We're playing everything to the T.
You're right. We'll do bubblegum
on this channel.
We'll do bubblegum.
We can talk about bubblegum.
This is gonna be every time you're on the show. You're gonna fake. You're gonna fake the fact.
We'll do bubblegum another time.
Okay.
Is this yours?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just stepped on it.
God damn it.
So my topic is gonna be
dog shit.
Traveling to a new city.
Moving or traveling?
Moving.
Okay.
Moving your whole life, much like I did.
Much like all of us did.
Run me through it. You're the most recent. How's it going?
It's going well so far.
Yeah.
I think I've become.
Did you say just well?
Yeah, just well.
Don't listen to the enforcer over there.
Yeah.
Nick, there's a weird part of your hair in the back. Greg, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks.
There you go.
Appreciate that.
I didn't think it was showing up on camera, so I wasn't gonna let it be.
Just
throwing you off.
It's these cameras.
Throwing you off. Oh, these cameras.
Yeah.
Camera one.
Nick, are you looking at my hair in that?
What's that?
That's sufficient detail just to check my
I
hair.
am. No, it looks great. You got that carefree rocker hair though.
I've been trying to copy your hair, Nick.
I love it.
That's looking good.
You got the hair where you walk in and you're wearing tight pants and like your boot has a little bit of a heel and maybe you got like a 6-string guitar. Is people ready for this?
I do actually have
You need it.
Shall I bring it?
You just go like this and it comes out from behind you like a fucking samurai sword.
Andy and I are going to bring guitars.
So you moved to this new city. It's going pretty well.
Why do you hate
really
fun,
well.
Greg?
Sometimes
Why do you hate fun?
Keep things on track.
Are you still mad about Rises? It's not a bad.
I'm not mad at all. Trust me, the internet's with me on this
Who
one.
wants scratches? Who wants scratches?
Batman v Superman's gonna be a movie everybody looks back in 5 years and be like, man, we were too hard on that one.
No, we're not.
That was a good one. That was a fun one. That was a comic book come to life. With the exception, you want to know my biggest problem with Batman v Superman, Andy? My biggest problem with Batman v Superman.
It wasn't great.
When he shoots him around, when he drags Superman in and then slowly spins him around and knocks him into pillars. I'm like, objectively, that's the only problem with the movie.
Do you think so? Everything else was perfect. Spot on.
Gotta cut that scene.
Anyways, moving to a new city.
They just speed that up a little bit. You gotta fucking
just cut it out. This needs to be there.
Okay.
It's similar to Wonder Woman when she gets the sword. It's just like, why do we need this?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I drove across 3-4 different states.
You did.
What's between Texas and California? New Mexico,
Nevada,
Arizona,
Deserts, yeah.
Nevada.
I don't know which route you took.
I don't know if I don't think I drove through Nevada.
You probably just drove through Arizona, right?
Yeah.
You'd have seen a casino, I think.
Yeah, you're right. No, I just saw a bunch of deserts, saw a bunch of beautiful landscapes. But the process of moving and putting everything into my car, and driving for 3 nights, 4 days, something like that. Have you all done anything similar to that? I know, you were from Chicago or whatever. Did you just fly over here? What sort of...
Are you not familiar with the story?
Huh?
Greg nearly died, I think.
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
So I went from Chicago to Missouri, for school, right? And that was going. My parents drove me down, dropped me off, went back, and then for like Thanksgiving, all freshman year I didn't have a car. Then I got a car. I would drive back and forth, everything else. Going there that first time, going to college at 18, I was so ready to be out on my own and be not an adult, but what you think is going to be an adult. You know what I mean? I was telling Nick the other day.
You can masturbate anywhere, turns out.
I had a roommate, but yeah, you could.
That's legal, is it?
No. Oh, it's America, man.
I thought about
Free speech.
It's so weird to masturbate with a roommate. Anyways. It was so exciting to go there and...
With one?
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked that
whatever. Kevin, check your fucking phone. No, moving there was awesome because it was a liberation of I'm going to go do this. It's going to be brand new. It's the first time on my own. I'm an independent person on that level, right? Where I actually want to go out and do that and live those experiences. And then I got comfortable, there for a while. I did the 4 years of school, then a year and a half of the paper, and then IGN hired me. And so when IGN hires me, they're like, well, how fast can you be out here? And I'm like, well, I started going through the fact that, I have a house and I have a lease through this. And I was like, 2 weeks. Fuck it. I'll blow up everything and I'll be there in 2 weeks. And they're like, oh, shit. All right, great. So what I did is I rented a U-Haul to bring, because I was going to keep it with my ex-wife. I was going to keep the house we had, the lease we had with her and our other roommate, and leave all the stuff, furniture with her. Then I was going to take the mattress our spare one, and take all the shit out there, right? And then I was going to bring out the car I had, which was a Mustang. And
hell yeah.
I woke up that morning, picked up the U-Haul, brought it back. They gave me the thing. I went out there to hook the car up to it, and I read the pamphlet. Totally haphazardly. I'm just like, well, I got time to kill. I think it was that my ex-wife was gonna shower or whatever, and then say goodbye, and then we're gonna go. And I'd already loaded the car, and I read the pamphlet, and the pamphlet's like, if your car is a front-wheel drive vehicle, this will fucking destroy it. And I was like, I think it is. I called my mom. She's like, yeah, that's all right. You can't do that. And I was like, fuck. So I drove way out of the way, 30 minutes the wrong way, because I was gonna drive Missouri to San Francisco. Drove the wrong way to pick up this other fucking sled for the car. Came back, put the car on it, then I started. So I started late, but I was going and I was excited. And so I went from Missouri, and it was either that I could go, and this is this is end of February, and I could either go north with a threat of snow or go south with a threat of tornadoes, because they're having horrible rainstorms.
You always pick tornadoes on this.
Growing up in the Midwest, I have a fear of tornadoes.
Have you seen Twister?
So fuck that. I've seen tornadoes in real life. Or funnel clouds starting to spin, not real things.
I understand.
But anyways, I was like, fuck that. I can deal with snow. I'm from Chicago. Go up, drive into Nebraska, check in at a hotel. Great. Go to bed. Wake up the next morning at something ridiculous, like 4 o'clock, and I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to do this. I wanted to get the Rockies that day. Was my thing. And came downstairs and looked at the TVs, and all the TVs were the Weather Channel. And it was like, there's a blizzard coming in to, the northern United States. And I'm looking at it, and I have to look at a map now. I think it's I-80 that cuts. There's a highway that cuts straight through Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it, and the blizzard was mainly north with literally a triangle going across the highway. And in my head, I'm like, I just punched through that.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
You go fast.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You go 90 miles an hour.
How many miles can that be wide? I can get through that. No problem. This isn't gonna slow me down.
Get it ready to 80 miles an hour. You just
fucking.
So I pour the coffee. Go out there, get in the U-Haul. And by the way, when I told my father this plan, I'm going to tow the U-Haul and drive across country, he was like, you've never done that before. And I was like, you never do it till you do it. And my dad now,
and then you
oddly enough, same words he told the first person he had sex with.
The subtext of that story, of course, is my father saying, you can't do this. You're not man. You're not man enough. You don't know what you're getting into. I'm like, I'll be fine. And not in a shitty way. My dad trying to,
Yeah.
Anyways,
please don't kill yourself.
I go, and sure, it's still dark out. It's snowing. I'm driving this thing, and the roads are rocky, and I'm going. And I'm driving, and what I had done is I used my PSP as my media player, and what I had done is downloaded every 1UP show, every Game Scoop, and at the time, IGN's AFK podcast. And that's all I was listening to on my way out there. Just like, I'm going to get to know these people. I'm going to know the industry better than anybody when I get there. Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just driving. And slowly it dawns on me that I'm the only car on the road. Like, there's no one. It's getting snowier. It's dark still. And I'm like, that's weird. And so there's a Dairy Queen. And I pulled off the ramp and pulled in this Dairy Queen. It's all big rig trucks in this Dairy Queen and people inside. I walked in. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, get off the road. There is a blizzard coming, you idiot. We're in the middle of a blizzard. I'm like, what do I do? I'm a fucking U-Haul Toyota Mustang. And they're like, 15 minutes ago, you passed a hotel. Drive back to that. It's like, all right, cool.
And here's the soft serve.
Exactly. I wish.
DQ. That's what I like about Texas. That's their advertising.
Oh, I don't know that ever ad.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I thought they were only in Texas. Go on.
I drive out of the Dairy Queen, and like it was a super simple highway overpass Dairy Queen. Drive out of the Dairy Queen the way the opposite way I came. Come over the overpass to come down and go, hang a left and go back. And as I come down the slope of the overpass, black ice, and I just slide, and it's like one of those things where I'm just like going past where I'm supposed to exit, and I'm like, what the fuck do I do? You know what I mean? And in front of me is, you can't see very far. It's snowing that hard now, but it's just, I don't know, you call it 2-lane road where there's me and oncoming. And I'm like, well, fuck, I can't reverse. There's no traction. It's black ice. And I'm dragging this fucking Mustang, of course. So I'm like, what I'll do is go further into it. I will go further down this random ass road. And in my head, I'm thinking, I know Columbia, I know Missouri. At some point, I'm going to pass a church that has a parking lot. And I'll be able to pull in and swing around. It can't take that long.
And you can pray.
And exactly. I drive down this road, and I pass one house. 10 minutes later, it's barren ass Nebraska. It's in the middle of a snowstorm. I'm going super slow, but I keep going. Like, I got it. Well, what else can I do? I can't. There's no way for me to 3-point turn this because it's now elevated too, where there's ditches on each side. I'm like, I can't do anything. And we're going, and finally, the real blizzard hits, and the wind starts rocking me back and forth. Like, this motherfucker's gonna tip over with me in it. And I'm like, I'm 23, and I'm like, I don't know.
You're terrified.
Exactly. I'm shitting my pants. And I'm like, and finally, I'm driving, and I finally see on my right this little trailer. And I'm like, okay. And I look into the yard, and you can faintly see the outline of a circular driveway of like, you come in, circle back out, and come back up. And I'm like, this is my only shot. I got to take this shot. I got to see what happens. Hopefully it's asphalt. Hopefully it's gravel. Come down, it's mud. I get 3/4 of the way in and just start spinning my tires. And, or maybe 1/4, I should say. And I'm like, fuck. And so I look at this little trailer that's there. No, there's like a truck, but it's not like connected. It's just a mobile home in the middle of nowhere. Get out of the tractor or the U-Haul, walk up to the door and knock on the door. And this old elderly man named Earl opens the door. And I'm like, hey, sir, sorry, I did this. I'm stuck. Can I use your phone? He looks at it, he's like, I got a tractor. I can pull you out. And I'm like, really? Like, it's a heavy load. Got a lot of stuff in this thing. And he's like, no, I got you. No big deal. I'm like, oh, thanks. So he takes like 10 minutes. He puts on his snowsuit, comes outside, goes into this little tiny shed, opens it up, and brings out a John Deere tractor half the size of this. It's like riding a lawnmower. Brings it out like this with a chain. And I'm like, Earl, I don't know if this is gonna. He's like, no, it'll work. And he goes over there, hooks the thing to the U-Haul, and goes, and he just starts spinning tires too, because it's still snowing like crazy. This, that, and the other. He's like, here's what you do. Go over to the, because it's one of those trailers where you walk up the stairs and there's a platform. He's like, leaning up against the platform is a piece of plywood. Yep. Don't mind the cats. Bring it over here. And I was like, don't mind the cats? He's like, yeah, a bunch of feral cats live under there. Don't worry about them. I'm like, oh, okay. So I grab this thing and rip it away, and it's just immediately punched in the face with all this cat urine smell. Like, these cats have just been living. I'm like, whatever, got to do it. So I go over there, and I shove it under the tires of the car, and it's like particle board. It's exploding in my hands as I try to get it in it. I'm doing the tires, and it's just like not happening. And Earl's like, all right, you can use my phone. I'm like, all right, great. Get in the car, update my parents and ex-wife, hang up the phone, and then just scream and pound on the steering wheel. You know what I mean? Get out, walk in, use Earl's thing. And I think Earl's in Butler, Nebraska. And then, this is going to be rough now, but something like 30 miles away, not far, is Kearney. That's the next big town. And I pick up the phone, go through the phone book, find, hey, we fucking pull big rigs out of things. And I'm like, great. Call them like, hey, I did this, U-Haul, Mustang, stuck. And they're like, yeah, we can come get you. I'm like, great, how long do you think it's going to be? And they're like, well, they shut down the highway because of the blizzard. I'm like, fuck, that would have been helpful to know. Shit, that would have been good to know. And they're like, yeah, shut down the highway because of the blizzard. So it'll probably be 6 to 9 hours. And I was like, all right, thank you. And I hung up the phone and did that thing where I just took that deep breath. I'm like, so Earl, gonna be hanging out with you for a while if that's okay. And explains to me, he's like, oh, no big deal, man, blah, blah, blah.
Come over here. I'm going to show you my collection of heads.
And that's the thing is, like, I put up a blog post when I first got to IGN. I was in this entire story and then also detailing Earl's trailer. Because it wasn't, like, nice. It was, like, Earl lives alone in a trailer and all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I think it was my aunt who hit me up and was like, you weren't making fun of him, but it kind of comes off at points where you were.
A dickhead.
And I was like, yeah, he saved my life. You know what I mean? Like, I could have blown over on the road. I could have done this. He could have not answered the door. He could have told me to fuck off. You know what I mean? He could have been furious that I was stuck in his yard.
Yeah.
He didn't do any of those things. He sat me down and made me coffee, and we hung out for fucking 8 hours watching March Madness on a snowy TV.
Hell yeah.
And then finally they pulled me out, and I drove back to the hotel that was 15 miles away or whatever, and sat there and called everybody and updated them. Oh, actually, I pulled in. And I had, like, I'm exhausted, I'm emotional. I pull in, and there's a sign that's like, trucks this way and cars that way. And I had this, like, mental breakdown. Where do I go?
Which one of those is me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Drove over where the trucks were, immediately got stuck in two, like, rivets where I couldn't move the tires. Got out of the car in tears and flagged down a trucker. And I was like, oh, and he's like, all right, got it, yeah, don't worry. And he got in the car, drove it out for me, parked over, and, like, where there wasn't anything. And then the next morning, I woke up to my mom calling me at 4 in the morning. No, my mom called me at 6 in the morning and was like, she's in tears, and she's like, I'm looking at, it's only getting worse. Don't drive. Come back to Missouri. I'll pay for your flight. We'll figure all this out. And I'm like, all right, fine. And then I called Jeremy Dunham and woke him up. And I go, he's like, hello? And I go, wakey, it's Greg Miller. And he goes, it's 4 in the morning. And I'm like, sorry, almost died on the way out here. Gonna do this. He's like, all right, whatever. And so then I flew to California.
He's like, you know what time it is on the Pacific Coast?
What? You know what I mean?
It's gonna be funny.
Goes there, then he loops around.
I'm gonna make an awkward thing.
Your brain's like one of those swizzle straws that like just goes all loopy.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
That's true.
So you almost died, and then you arrive in California.
Yeah.
You know, however many days later, a week later.
Yeah, something like that.
How long do you feel like it took you to get acclimated to the city? Like, I assume, did you have any friends out here? Or
No, I came out here sight unseen. I got hired at a different IGN. You know, we talk about now where they're like, we flew people out and they got a SWAT team, and it was like 7 hours of interviews. I got contacted, interviewed, and hired within 24 hours. Okay. Never came out here for an interview, never met Dunham or Roper in person, didn't do any stuff.
So lucky.
So I came here.
I've seen your MySpace page. We like it. We think
exactly. Well, they read my blog. It was very interesting. But got out here, and like to feel acclimated, to feel like it was normal, it took forever. I mean, I don't think it's one of those things like, you know, I just moved again. And so like now the apartment is starting to feel like home, but it's just because it's normal. I've been doing it now in a routine.
Sure.
Whereas like, I think there was a different routine back then because I'll never forget coming out of the airport, getting into the cab and saying, take me to IGN, 800 Marina Boulevard. And I didn't say IGN. And then I had to show him I loaded my computer and put it in sleep mode because I knew he wouldn't know where Marina Boulevard was. And I showed him whatever. But then there's a big, you know, South San Francisco mountain, which isn't a mountain, but it's a giant hill that we don't have in the Midwest. And I remember looking at it like, what the
Same
fuck?
Here. Yeah.
And like getting there and like the first thing I did in that parking lot while I was waiting for Chris Roper to come down, I took really shitty Nokia cell phone photos of the palm trees in the parking lot. Because that was so... What a weird fucking thing for this guy from the Midwest. Like, text your family back home. Like, there's palm trees in the parking lot. They were on the water.
Matrix.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, is it weird for you to be sitting in an office where if you look out the window, you can see the ocean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gotta be strange,
like
right?
standing on the roof. When we're on the roof and I'm looking out there. Yeah, that's definitely really, really odd because 10 years of living in Austin.
Right.
Fucking 20 years of living back home. It's flat. And... like just driving down the streets, being able to see crazy fucking hills and like looking up and like, man, we are elevated right now, you know? Like, it's really, really bizarre. Now, as far as the culture goes, the culture is super similar to Austin.
Right, sure.
Like, the vibe is different. I think I like it more here because it's so much prettier to look at shit here.
Sure.
Like, the vistas are a lot nicer compared to Austin and just anywhere in Texas, really.
Have you been up to Marin yet to see like the redwoods and things like that?
No, nothing like that.
It's indoor, basically. That's where they shot it. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm still getting used to it, but luckily I have not only you guys, but, you know, when I moved out here, if I didn't know any of you all, and if I had no friends here, I'd probably be way lonelier. But I moved out here, and I have not only had you guys, but I have, you know, Sean and Barrett and
best
Melissa.
friends you made through the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. People who are like, when I got here, Sean would be like, hey, let's go out to eat. Or... Barrett would be like, hey, come over and watch this TV show with us, you know? And you know, it's been a lot smoother a transition than I could have ever expected.
That's great. That's good to know.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was always the strength and weakness to an extent. Thank you so much. If you're watching at home, I'm doing this community town hall thing tonight, and we're running late, so I'm getting really close to it. So I got to start setting it up. And I was adjourned. I want this top to keep going. I think it's great. That was always the strength and weakness to IGN to an extent, is that you worked with your friends. And I remember how weird that was when I talked to former coworkers and then family members too. Of like, oh, that's great. That works so great. What do you do on the weekends? What do you do at night? And I'm like, well, all of us from the office go to the movies or the bar or come back to the office to play games. And they thought that was so strange, but it was that we all were the same age bracket. We all had the same interests. It was so easy to fall into, like, of course, this is what we're going to do. We're all friends.
It was a really weird time too when Greg and I started IGN, because we started like 6 months away from each other, something like that, 8 months, where we were all like, the entire editorial department, with the exception of a couple of the guys, were pretty much around the same age and or maturity level. There was Doug Perry, who was always a little bit older than everyone, but same maturity level.
Well, like I always come in, like, you know, it was that thing where we came in right as the old guard burned out.
Yeah.
Right as the founders who
right as Tal and Pear.
Right as Dunham was having kids and Roper was getting married, and it was like they were all aging up right as we all got there. And it was like, you don't get me wrong, I was in the new class to this class, but like Charles and Brudvig and Clayman and you and like the entire video team and Ty and
Eric and
Baradon, like it was that thing of like, cool, we're all expats from somewhere else and we just want to fucking party and do whatever.
Yeah, that was actually one of the cool things too, because when I came here, I knew no one. I didn't have a single person that I knew up north. I took the job. It was my experience was completely opposite of Greg's. I interviewed for the job with Fran because my buddy actually like physically put my resume on his desk and was like, you should look at this guy. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. I know you don't know me that well, but whatever. So Fran called me just kind of on a recommendation. We had a great interview, and I didn't hear back from him for like 3 months because I think they had another candidate that they wanted that I think was from, I want to say it was from Canada, and they just couldn't get him. They couldn't figure out the like getting him into the country and all the visa stuff. So they went with their second choice, which was me. So Fran gives me a call, and he's like, hey, how's it going? Really liked you. Look, we need someone up here. We need someone up here basically in the next week. Can you do it? And I was like, yes, I can. And then I'm like, it was the first time in my life when I had committed something and then had to figure out how to do it. And that was like, I'm like, fuck, this is crazy. And I moved up north. I packed all my stuff. My brother and one of my brother's good friends and another friend all got in a car. We had a party out of it. We drove me up, and I had found a guy on Craigslist, and I called him. I was like, yeah, I'd love to rent your room if it's still available, because it was in Brisbane, which is right up the road, or right down the road from us. And IGN was in Brisbane. I had no idea that Brisbane was a tiny little town that everything closed at 4 o'clock, and like I didn't know anything any better. Show up at the guy's door, and he's like, oh, yeah, like I didn't know if you were serious. I'm not sure if I really want you to be here. And I'm like, well, why don't we have an interview right now? And if you like me, I'll stay. And if not, I'm totally fucked. So, like,
we should figure that out right now.
So
if you like me or not.
So I was like, look, I don't need to commit to anything. Like whatever. I'm like, just give me a month. If you don't like me, I'll find another place. It's not a big deal. So the guy was like, yeah, totally cool. And he had the world's weirdest cat. And then I ended up leaving quickly afterward. Anyway, but yeah, we all got together, and it was me, and it was my buddy Brennan, and it was Fran, and it was Eric, and all of us were from different parts. Like Eric was from Florida, Fran's from Chicago, Brennan's from Louisiana, his friend Craig was from Louisiana, and we all were of the same age and all found each other and just instantly clicked. And I was like, thank God. And I remember knowing that Brennan was going to be my best, like one of my best friends forever, because like one of the first nights I was there, he was like, hey man, a bunch of us are going to go get some Taco Bell and then go back to my house and watch movies and play some games. You down? I'm like, I can get behind that. I definitely can get behind that.
Do that.
By the way, I was on a low carb diet back then, and there's nothing worse than trying to explain to the person behind.
Back then.
Well, specifically for this story, because every time Brennan lived in Foster City with my buddy Craig, and they lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and Brennan slept on the couch and Craig slept in the room. To this day, I have no idea why, because it was Brennan's apartment. But we used to go to Taco Bell, which is a block and a half away, and I would order a bowl of meat every time. I'd be like, can you just put 3 sides of meat in a bowl with some hot sauce and every time without fail,
they're like, don't disrespect us.
They had to go get the manager and be like, is this something we could do? Is this like,
is this something people do here?
I saw them like having to C++ hack the fucking computer to figure out how to get that to print in the back. And eventually they just figured it out. But yeah, it took me a while to adjust. In fact, I don't think I ever fully adjusted. I love San Francisco. I love Northern California, but I always feel a little displaced sometimes too. When I go back to SoCal, I'm like, I don't really belong there either. And up here, I'm like, I guess this is my life and it's beautiful and there are way worse places to live. But in the back of my brain, I never actually thought, and I still to this day, I don't think I'm going to spend the rest of my life in Northern California. At some point, I'm like, I'm going to go back down to LA or SoCal and just and be down there for the rest of my life. It's a very strange feeling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I was going to say when I finished university,
uni as y'all call it.
We call it uni.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I feel so home.
I know
appreciate
a
that,
lot.
Andy.
I know a lot about the UK.
Andy,
guys.
can you van for a while?
We should-
I have to go to the loo and get some biscuits.
Just get some biscuits.
And take the lift.
Don't eat the biscuits out of the bathroom.
And by the way, when you walk between that floor and that floor, you have to mind the gap. That's what you have to do. Shout out
You
to
learned
London.
so much on your trip to London.
I do. I fucking love London, by the way. I'm giving you guys shit, but my wife lived in London for a while, and it was just the best experience
We had a
ever.
great meetup in South Ken.
It was fun.
That was great.
Okay, so while you
Anyway,
were at uni,
I was at uni and I applied for jobs in London. This was, I'm just going to show my age here. The .com bubble had just burst. The finance industry where I was looking to apply for jobs, no one was recruiting, so I took a year out and basically dossed around for a year. I went to
Can you explain what that word means?
DOSed. Sorry, apologies.
Like disk operating
I'm not
system
sure what the
DOS?
I'm not sure what the translation is.
People can extrapolate.
Yeah,
you
quite.
just fucked around.
Yeah, exactly.
You fucked off.
Pissed
Fucked
off.
off.
You pissed off for a while.
Yeah, so basically like Thailand, Bali, Australia, New
awesome.
Zealand, across the states. Great fun. Came back to my home. Found my parents had divorced.
Whoa.
Which was a bit of a shock.
Did they not tell you that? You didn't get a letter
I
somewhere?
kind of had I got a notice from the lawyers. I had a bit of an indication, but I came back and they were like, "Oh yeah, and we're selling your family home."
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So you're homeless. So I literally came back, was homeless. I went down to London to see some friends who'd already moved there straight out of university. So they moved out a year kind of before, and they were like, sorry, Joycey, which is what they call me.
Joycey.
They were like, Joycey, why have you brought all your why have they brought all your stuff?
Oh, that makes sense.
And it's complex. I mean, people in the UK are very sophisticated.
They're so creative.
They're like, Joycey, why have you brought your entire rucksack down? Are you staying for like a month? And I was like, no, this is all my belongings in a bag.
They sold everything else.
I don't have anything else.
That's fucked up.
I was like, so carrying it around. Me and my best friend from home, my oldest friend, a guy called Rich, came down to London, like looked around a few places, found a place. We made an offer on it to stay there, got rejected, ended up staying with one of his friends. He's an actor. He was going to drama school. So we kind of moved down with a friend of his, didn't know, no job, living in London, which is, apart from San Francisco, about the most expensive place in the world you can live, with no money, just been traveling for like a year. So I used all whatever.
done.
I was going to say savings. I don't have any savings.
No savings, just the money you had.
Yeah, exactly. Had already burnt through the overdrafts I had. Moved down, and it's amazing when you're motivated to find a job, how effective you can be.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny. I look back now and think I had like
Kinda.
6-8 weeks.
Yeah.
6-8 weeks where I could have just been enjoying myself in London, no job, nothing. But at the time, I was frantically panicking
you're
how I was going to
stressing
pay the
out like a
next rent bill. Found a job, fortunately, at a place called PwC, which is a large professional services firm. Joined there, and it was great. But it was like the panic and loneliness and just kind of I don't know, the kind of uncomfortableness of being like, it wasn't even, the new city was one thing, and that was pretty bad. But it's London, so it's great. Not having a job, that has its own kind of panics, but then also this kind of idea that I didn't have anywhere to go back to. It wasn't like I couldn't, I'm sure I could have like gone and stayed with one of my parents somewhere, but you're like that place that you called home, that kind of, that rock, that foundation that you have just had kind of vanished, and I suddenly felt anchorless and like drifting. I was in London. I literally the first few nights I was sleeping on, first of all, the floor. Then I eventually got like an inflatable mattress and I slept on that. And then eventually, like when all the my belongings kind of got released from whatever security they had on them, like after having the divorce, everything got put somewhere. Like I got that down. I actually started to feel at home. Yeah, exactly. It's me, an inflatable mattress, and my my mask collection. Or he-bad figures.
My mask.
What?
Right there.
It's a show.
Oh,
fucking
Nick, will you wrap this show up for me?
So anyway,
This is a great topic. Keep going.
Yeah,
I just got to go do this thing I did. You're not mad, right? You understand?
Go do your thing.
Yeah,
All right, go do your
yeah.
thing. So for this is a question I'll put to you guys. Like, do you feel like this is a level of rite of passage, right? Do you feel like people need to do this in their life at some point?
No.
No? You think you it's okay to grow up and live and die in the same town you grew up in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like cross country sort of adventures. I don't think that's a rite of passage. I don't think anybody needs to necessarily do that. I think it's cool to see different parts of the world that you may not have necessarily seen if you stayed back home. But there is a nice comfort about home where your family there and your friends are there, and that's where you grew up and everything's very familiar or whatever. I do think it's important to get out of your parents' place and maybe move a couple cities down just to be away a little bit, but I don't think you have to move across the country. No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just to disagree with Andy. I hate to disagree with Andy.
Oh, God.
He's wrong about so many things.
I had this interesting conversation with my girlfriend Dylan about going on holiday, and I'm a little bit like that. I like that familiarity of somewhere that you've been before, but then I said actually there's everywhere is a new place until you've been there. So if you I kind of like the idea of going somewhere new. I like the idea of experiencing something new because until you have, you kind of fail to realize that there is a bigger world out there. But I do like the familiarity of places that you know, whether it's home or whether it's but I do think you need to kind of get out of your initial radius to just kind of experience some of that and to know, so you can compare and contrast. You don't know what you're going to like until you what you're going to dislike.
I was not a huge advocate of traveling until I met my wife. She travels for leisure and for pleasure, and I used to travel a lot for work. So I always think travel is synonymous with work, where you'd go, have to do a job, have to figure out how to do this complex job in a new setting where you don't have all your resources. It was very stressful, and to this day, I think that really conditioned me to kind of be averse to traveling. The great thing, though, is, and I do really cite London for this. London was the first time I landed in a city, and I was taken by it. And I was like, I want to spend more time here. And I met all you guys out there, and I met, we had Tom put together that kind of last minute meet and greet with him.
Shout out to T-Hawk.
Shout out to big old Tizzles. He put together that.
He's just like, what can I call him, mate?
Call him the Tiddlywinks. He put together that incredibly racially insensitive and culturally insensitive, promotional image, and everyone came out.
Nick is the beef eater. It was beautiful.
But honestly, I walked around, and part of the reason why I wanted to do that was because I was like, I'm enjoying the city so much that I feel like if I left without meeting all the best friends here, or at least the people that I could gather in the 5 hours of fucking promotion or whatever, I would be remiss if I didn't do that. And when everyone came out. Which, by the way, that bar was like a block away from where I was staying.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, we were staying in a cool little
nice part of the world.
Well, we save up, but we like to splurge when we go in these hotels. And we went to the Morocco was the other leg, so that was a lot cheaper than London leg.
Yeah.
With the exception of when we went glamping, which was a terrible experience. But I think you really do. You start to appreciate a couple things. You start to appreciate your where you live when you travel.
Yeah.
Because I think it kind of gives you a good appreciation for the comforts of home. But I think you also, and this is what I'm always mystified by, you start to really realize that everyone deep down is the same when you travel. And I think that's a very important thing. Like when you go to London, I've been to Morocco, I've been to all sorts of places now, all over Europe, South America, Central America rather. Everyone is there's just a lot of human beings down there doing their thing.
Yeah.
And you got a lot more in common with them than you do the opposite if you just kind of take the time to actually talk to people. But yeah, I've actually got the travel bug, and we're going back for our anniversary this year, our 5-year anniversary. We're going to Copenhagen. I've never been to Denmark before.
Oh, cool.
So I think that'll be kind of fun. I don't think it's going to be London. Okay, I think I'm going to miss London, but yeah, there is something about y'all city that is pretty fucking awesome.
Well, you're always welcome back.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I'm going to pick you up.
Last question for you though. Do you think that my parents did the same thing? Well, not the same thing to me that your parents did to you, but at one point I remember just distinctly getting a call from my mom. I think I was 21 at the time, and she's like, "Hey, all those bills I'm paying for right now and all the food that I'm buying you, I'm not doing that anymore. Bye." Click. You have she was basically you have 1 month to come up with an extra $800, and I was like, "Fuck,
damn,
I don't know how to do that." And of course you have to figure that out, right? You have to and you're right. You never figure something out until you're forced to figure it out. And I think that's an important rite of passage. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Is at some point you have to think to yourself, I need to be my own person, for better or for worse. It's
kind of amazing what you can do when you have that duress or that necessity to do something. And I think you can do a lot more than you would expect to do when you are forced to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I think that's a good situation to find yourself in, but sometimes it's quite life affirming to know.
I think it's a growth experience, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity for you to go, I don't think I can do this. And then when you do it, you go, fuck, I could. That's cool. That's really great. What else can I do, right? And that was important for me. Like, I would not have been able to pick up that phone and say yes to that offer from Fran to go to IGN without having been cut off from all my parents' support. Granted, I mean, I say cut off, my mom still made me food and brought it over all the time. It wasn't like, if I was in dire straits, right? If I was like, Ma, I gotta move in with you, she'd be like, thank you, Jesus. Like, it would have been amazing. And she would have, I'd probably still be living there today. But yeah, anyway, guys, this has been an awesome podcast.
Yeah.
Pauly D.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Andy C. I just want to call him Pauly D.
I like that.
I know.
Why do they call him Joycey? I don't know. What is D?
I said, because in my head,
it's complicated.
In my head, I was trying to make a joke earlier of you looking a little like Pauly D from the Jersey Shore. A little bit. And then I thought your last name started with a D for some reason. And then you were like, no, my last name is Joyce. Joycey is not that hard to work.
Your brain just works in a very weird way.
Not as weird as fucking Swizzle Stick over here.
That's true.
Ghost of Greg Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen.
This is GameOverGreggy show. We're 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table and bring topics together week by week, day by day, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Guys, everyone, thanks.
Step by step.
I thought you were going for a bit of New Kids on the Block there.
Which one was the big New Kids on the Block song?
It was Step by Step.
Was it Step by Step?
Step by Step.
Sing it.
Oh, I'm singing the show.
He's singing the show. It was
I was singing Step
TGIF.
by Step. Ooh, baby, can you get to me, girl?
Was that? That's not the big
New
Kids
Kids
on the Block
song. Dylan will know this. What was it?
What's the most famous New Kids on the Block song? What? No, there was a different. There had to be a different.
They're on a different side of the world.
What are you talking about? Are we not talking about?
It got to us in about 2001.
We're all talking about Donnie Wahlberg's famous band, right?
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks. I'll wrap it up. You sit there, fucking New Kid on the Block. Everyone, thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Good job, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here. Watch other videos down here. Clicking over here to go to the Patreon and go check out Kinda Funny Games right there. You can click right here and you'll go back and see a very old video. Just say I'm making it up. Put something there. Fuck it. I don't care. Old.